Chapter 2297. Class of Gods. Two classes had just finished their physical training. Those who were drinking water were drinking water, those who were wiping their sweat were wiping their sweat. There were even a few who had collapsed on the training ground and closed their eyes to rest. After the physical training, they had 1 hour's rest time before the next training mission. Yiqing Luo took a piece of white silk and wiped the sweat on her forehead. Her gaze wandered around the surroundings. After a round of training, Yiqing Luo didn't notice that girl named Jun Qingwu. Wasn't she a student from the class of gods? Didn't she return to the class of gods early in the morning? Why didn't she see her during the training? Or could it be, that girl was actually lying to her? Qing Luo, who are you looking for? Tong Ziqing walked over. You seem to be looking for someone from the class of gods since this morning's gathering. Yiqing Luo shook her head. But her gaze was suddenly fixed on one person. That person's gaze was looking over. To be precise, it was looking at Tong Ziqing. I heard that the day before yesterday, Ximing Han gave up on the competition and specially ran back to the actual combat training forest to look for you for the entire night. Yiqing Luo raised her head and looked at the girl standing behind her. Tong Ziqing's pupils suddenly contracted. Her eyelashes trembled unnaturally. Him looking for me is his own matter. Even this didn't move your heart? Yiqing Luo raised her pink lips, stood up and hooked Tong Ziqing's shoulder. To tell the truth, when I heard this news I was touched. He was just bored and wanted to find someone to tease. Tong Ziqing pursed her red lips and turned her face away. Her voice was calm and steady. So, don't tease me. Yiqing Luo patted her shoulder. Silly girl, sometimes stubbornness is not necessarily right. For matters of the heart, only you can choose according to your heart. That is the right choice. Of course, I'm not advising you to give up on Ajan after all. You've had a crush on him for so many years, it's not that easy to forget. But, from an outsider's point of view, when you say this, I have to refute it for Ximing Han. If he was bored and wanted to tease you, there's no need to use his own body as a joke. You should also know that he searched the forest for you for an entire night. He ran through every corner of the forest and almost lost his life to the claws of the magical beasts several times. And yesterday, in order to ensure your safety, in order to train together with you, even with my injuries, I forced myself to participate in the strengthened training. If that's the case, you still think that he's just bored and trying to have fun with you, then I have nothing to say. Tong Ziqing wanted to interrupt Yiqing Luo several times. But hearing Yiqing Luo's words, her red lips pursed even tighter. The more she listened, the lower she lowered her head. Yes, Tong Ziqing could feel it. She could sense that he was joking and serious. He just didn't want to believe it. Love at first sight. It sounded wonderful. But in reality, it wasn't as beautiful as it seemed. She fell in love with Long Yunjian at first sight, but it was only because she was moved at first sight that she fell deeply in love with him later on. However, Ximingan's love at first sight was too sudden, so sudden that she couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it either. She loved Long Yunjian. This was something that no one could change. Even Ximing Han was the same. Rather than giving Ximing Han hope, she might as well pretend that she didn't know anything. Feelings that couldn't be reciprocated. Moreover, 1 month later they would return to the devil class. Chapter 2298. Looking at Tong Ziqing's drooping eyelids, struggling but stubbornly biting her lips. Yiqing Luo could also tell the choice in Tong Ziqing's heart. She sighed softly. Everyone's love was different. Their attitude towards love was different too. Tong Ziqing loved Long Yunjian so much that she couldn't see Ximing Han. This was Tong Ziqing's choice. She couldn't force Tong Ziqing to do anything. Yiqing Luo raised her hand and patted Tong Ziqing's shoulder lightly. I only hope that you can be truly happy. Tong Ziqing's petite body trembled slightly. Happy? She already didn't know whether she was happy or not. It seemed that Long Yunjian could take a look at her, speak to her and stand in front of her to protect her without hesitation. It was happy. But the more happiness she had, what followed was even more loneliness and sadness. She had loved Long Yunjian for too long. She really didn't know if her happiness was still important. It seemed that she really loved someone. So much that she didn't even have herself. This thought caused Tong Ziqing's entire body to be stunned. She turned her head as though she was escaping and quickly left the training ground, heading towards a direction where there was no one around. Her mind was in a mess. Tong Ziqing had long forgotten about the question she asked Yiqing Luo about who she was looking for. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she looked at Tong Ziqing's panicked back view. She wanted to chase up. But from the corner of her eyes she saw someone from the class of gods chasing up. Yiqing Luo put down her raised foot. Si Han he really liked Tong Ziqing. His gaze had always been focused, only accommodating Tong Ziqing alone. Being loved by such a person should be blissful. But Tong Ziqing probably wouldn't be able to walk out of the cage set by Long Yunjian. But she should give Si Han a chance to open the door to Tong Ziqing's heart. If Tong Ziqing continued to love Long Yunjian and he still didn't respond, it would be too tiring. The next moment Yiqing Luo saw a blue figure flashed past her and chased towards the direction where Tong Ziqing and Si Han disappeared. He bumped into Yiqing Luo and was totally unaware. The only thought in his mind was to quickly catch up. Not far away, Yin Xiaoyi, who was nestled in Xiao Jin's arms, mischievously looked at the scene before her. She clicked her tongue and said, "Class monitor looks like he's moved. Doesn't he like Qing Luo?" Xiao Jin gently fed her water. Yin Xiaoyi drank a mouthful of water in satisfaction as the cooling feeling eased her fatigue. Under such a strong opponent like the Overlord, you still like Qing Luo, aren't you just looking for death? Xiao Jin nodded in agreement. That's true. But Class Monitor still hasn't realized that his feelings towards Qing Luo is no longer the love he thought it was. Yin Xiaoyi stretched her waist in Xiao Jin's embrace. I hope that Si Mingan's appearance will make the Class Monitor understand her own heart. Otherwise, our goddess Ziqing will be hurt again. Yiqing Luo held onto her injured elbow. She burst out laughing. Indeed, the appearance of a love rival could truly allow one to understand their own heart. Their Mr. Class Monitor was finally going to be enlightened? Yiqing Luo rubbed her own arm and a concerned voice floated over her head. Student Yiqing Luo, your arm, is it all right? Yiqing Luo raised her head and her eyes were filled with smiles as she replied politely, Teacher Yi, I'm fine. Teacher Yi smiled as he looked at the young lady in front of him. Chapter 2299. They had intensified their special training yesterday and today, they had intensified their training to a new level. The students from the class of God were obviously lacking in today's special training. But the students from the devil class were still fighting bravely. This kind of spirit was really shocking to these teachers. And also very curious. What kind of method did the students from the devil class use to grow to this stage? This was crucial to their teaching career. Hence, Teacher Yi was sent out to inquire about the news. Do you need to rest? Teacher Yi asked with a smile. Yiqing Luo took off the soft silk from her neck and put it aside. Coincidentally, I have something to ask Teacher Yi. Do you have time to chat? Teacher Yi beamed with joy. Come, let's go over there. The two of them walked one after another to the training ground, to the stone table where the teachers were resting. Yiqing Luo sat down. Teacher Yi went straight to the point. Student Yiqing Luo, before you entered the devil class, Before you entered the devil class, how was their performance? Yiqing Luo understood. It seemed that Teacher Yi was very interested in the students of the devil class. She replied with a smile. When I first entered the devil class, I was almost taught a lesson by them. Actually, the students in the devil class are not the so-called waste, they are just using the mask of waste to cover up their true selves. Teacher Yi stroked his beard. Which meant that the changes in the devil class had nothing to do with Yiqing Luo. Teacher Yi looked in the direction of the devil class. Then do you know how many students in your class are not from the Heavenly Academy? How many? Yiqing Luo was stunned for a moment. Are you trying to say kitty? That's a cat beast from the beastman race, has it contracted with you? As someone from the upper realm, Teacher Yi naturally recognized Kitty Li's identity. Yiqing Luo nodded calmly. With Kitty Li's identity, it was easy to fool the people from the Nirvana realm. The people from the upper realm had some understanding of the beastman race. With a little careful observation, they could clearly discover Kitty Li's true identity. Teacher Yi's eyes were filled with admiration. To be able to subdue a beastman to form a contract with him, and a little girl from the lower domain at that, it was truly rare. He stroked his beard and threw out the next question. There's another one. Yin Xiaoyi. The faculty council doesn't have her information either. Xiaoyi? Yiqing Luo's eyes revealed a puzzled expression. When I joined Devil Class, Xiaoyi was already a veteran student in Devil Class Faculty Council. How could it be possible that there's no information on her? Her words had just stopped. Yiqing Luo thought of something. The last time, when Yen Jinfei stole the portraits of the students from the Faculty Council in Devil Class, she had also said, in the portrait there was no Yen Xiaoyi. Could it be that Yen Xiaoyi was afraid that Yen Jinfei, who was working in the Faculty Council, would discover her identity, so she purposely hid her identity? There's another student. She's the one who is the most low-key amongst all of you, but the one who isn't simple mouing. Teacher E then pointed at the little girl who stood in the corner like a soulless puppet, staring blankly into space. Mo Ying's true identity was the island sage of Godless Island. She didn't have anyone by her side in the faculty council, so she stayed in Devil class? This Heavenly Academy's system was really inconceivable. Easily able to let students who weren't from the Heavenly Academy enter the Heavenly Academy. After that, she openly appeared in the Academy. The Academy actually didn't know about it. Chapter 2300. Devil classes change, is it because of them? Teacher E lowered his voice and asked meaningfully. Yiqing Luo concealed the deep glint in her eyes as she gave a polite smile. These I'm not too sure. But during this period of time in Devil class, the only thing I can be sure of is that they all sincerely treat themselves as Devil classes students. Pausing for a moment, Yiqing Luo's eyes sparkled with sincerity. Why would they come to Devil class, I think? It's because they wish to have a place to stay. Teacher E was stunned. Suddenly he recalled his investigation on the three people. A beast, human, cat, beast, Yiqing Luo's contracted beast. She naturally had to stay by Yiqing Luo's side. There was no one in charge of Devil class, so it was understandable for Kitty Li to be placed in Devil class. And one was the Yin family's second miss. Her days in the Yin family were miserable, and finally she couldn't take it anymore, so she escaped from the Yin family. The Yin family had no feelings for this missing second miss, and no one went to look for her. Devil class was indeed the only place for Yen Xiaoyi and that mysterious young lady. Until now, they were still unable to find any information about that young lady. However, such a strange little girl who never seemed to know how to socialize and communicate with others. To be able to get along so harmoniously with everyone in Devil class, it showed that the feelings between them were indeed sincere. Since they have already lived in Devil class for so long, then Devil class belongs to all of us. None of our family members can be missing. Yiqing Luo looked at Teacher E smilingly with a serious look on her face. So Teacher E, regarding Devil class's students, I hope you won't tell the academy. Teacher E stroked his beard and laughed out loud. If I wanted to say, I wouldn't have specially come to ask you. I just want to know, what method did your Devil class use to have such a huge change, and as compared to the class of gods, it's even stronger. This really makes us three teachers blush with shame. Method? Yiqing Luo tilted her head and pondered for a moment. How should I put it? What can change a person, can never escape from the word love. Friendship, love, kinship. Or hatred, disgust, and so on. She continued, because there is love in one's heart. Perhaps it is the desire to protect someone, or perhaps it is the desire to be acknowledged by someone, or perhaps it is the desire to become stronger, or perhaps it is the desire to take something back. These are all reasons why a person changes and becomes stronger. As Yiqing Luo said that, she looked towards those 10 students who were resting in Devil class. Her charming eyes were filled with a warm brilliance. She curled her lips and smiled warmly. As for the Devil class, maybe they want to protect the Devil class, to protect the affection between them. Teacher E was taken aback. His hand, which was stroking his beard, paused slightly. After a while, he let out a low laugh. I understand now, it's no wonder. The innate talents of the God class are so good, but they can't compare to the students of the Devil class. Yiqing Luo smiled but didn't continue the conversation. I have another question. Teacher E also looked towards the direction of the Devil class. Every student in the academy has a student's wooden plaque. On it, there will be detailed records of every student's profound rank changes. These changes could be observed by the Elders Department at any time. Why is it that, after so many years, the profound grade of the Devil class's students' wooden tablets has never changed? Chapter 2301. The Academy's Wooden Plate? The thing. After it was taken away by Long Yunzhan and sealed away, she had forgotten about it. If I have the intention to avoid the Academy's attention, I will naturally think of ways to avoid any possibility of being discovered. Yiqing Luo replied frankly. Teacher E nodded thoughtfully. You bunch of kids. If only I had discovered you earlier and accepted you all into the God class. His words were to probe Yiqing Luo. They indeed had the intention to bring the 10 students from the class of devils to the class of gods for special training. These children were not as talented as the other students. However, after going through their special training, he would definitely become a powerful profounder. However, look at the affection between these students. Very likely, he would still choose to refuse. As expected, Yiqing Luo pretended not to understand and smiled lightly. Class of God students, their innate talent and learning ability are very strong. These 2 days of special training in Class of God, we have all benefited a lot. Teacher E didn't know what else to say. Then he casually muttered a few words. There was only an incense stick's worth of time left to rest. Just as Teacher E was about to instruct Yi Qing Luo to prepare for the upcoming training, he heard Yi Qing Luo's indifferent voice. Teacher E, I would like to ask, is there a student in the Class of Gods, called Jun Qingwu? Jun Qingwu? Teacher E was taken aback. Yes. Is she not coming for today's special training? Yi Qing Luo frowned slightly. Why was Teacher Yi's expression so strange at the mention of Jun Qingwu? It seemed like he was afraid of that student called Jun Qingwu? Fear. He was a headmaster from the upper 3 realms, how could he be afraid of a student? She should be. Teacher Yi's expression was slightly flustered. Suddenly he seemed to have seen something from the corner of his eyes and immediately said, Of course she's here. Student Jun Qingwu has been busy these few days, so she hasn't come to school. She just returned today, so of course she'll be here for the special training. Saying that, he had already looked towards a certain direction behind Yi Qing Luo. Look, student Jun Qingwu is coming over. Yi Qing Luo followed Teacher Yi's gaze. A beautiful girl dressed in ocean blue slowly walked over. Her sea blue skirt was like a blooming platycodon. His icy cold face made him look extremely mysterious and noble. Jun Qingwu's arrival immediately attracted everyone's attention. However, Jun Qingwu turned a blind eye as she walked towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. Yi Qing Luo raised her eyebrows, but from the corner of her eyes she caught a glimpse of Teacher Yi's trembling body staring at Jun Qingwu. It was as if he was nervous about something. Then a student from the Class of Gods exclaimed, Student Jun is back. Classmate Jun is back. Teacher Yi heaved a sigh of relief. Teacher. Jun Qingwu's cold voice drifted into his ears like a cold current. I'm back. Teacher Yi swallowed his saliva and smiled. It's good that you're back, it's good that you're back. It's almost time for the next training. Jun Qingwu, hurry up and get ready. As he spoke, he left as though he was escaping. In Yi Qing Luo's eyes, Master Yi was on the run. Why did he seem to be afraid of Jun Qingwu? Classmate Jun Qingwu, we meet again. Yi Qing Luo didn't think too deeply about it. She wasn't interested in delving into the secrets of the Class of Gods. Jun Qingwu glanced at her indifferently. You're quite energetic. Last night, because of the matter between the director and the dark forces, she had been tormented for the whole night. Now she could still participate in the special training. Chapter 2302. Jun Qingwu's energy isn't bad either. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up, her imposing manner didn't lose to hers. Jun Qingwu's eyes turned cold. With just a glance at Yi Qing Luo, she sat directly on the seat that Teacher Yi was sitting on. His dignified appearance did not resemble that of a student at all. His every movement exuded a noble aura. Thinking back to last night, Jun Qingwu was able to break through the dark secret technique with a casual wave of her hand. In the blink of an eye, those black fog monsters were destroyed. Such a woman, did he still need to study in the Class of Gods? It could be said that it was because of Teacher Yi's attitude. Yi Qing Luo could sense it. This woman's status had long surpassed that of the headmaster. Suddenly Yi Qing Luo seemed to have thought of something. Her eyes lit up and her gaze was like a torch as she stared at Jun Qingwu. What is your relationship with DMO Xian? Jun Qingwu slowly raised her eyes. Her gaze was as cold as a 1,000-year frost. If this kind of gaze was placed on an ordinary person, they would probably be frozen to death under this frost. But Yi Qing Luo didn't seem to notice it at all. She quickly sat down. It's you? Xian and the palace master of the Upper Xian Palace wanted me to find you. She used a declarative sentence, not a question. The woman who knew the location of the sacred beast pearl was Jun Qingwu. Jun Qingwu's personality was actually quite similar to Zhu Wuxin's. They were all cold and unfeeling. He would never take anything to heart. But last night, in that kind of emergency, Jun Qingwu had saved her. If she wasn't someone Jun Qingwu knew, or someone who was useful to Jun Qingwu would never have helped her. Most importantly, she had covered herself with a loose black robe last night, which had changed her voice. Even if the devil class students were to stand in front of her, they might not be able to recognize her. However, Jun Qingwu had calmly revealed her identity. It was as if he was certain that she was a student of the Class of Gods. Moreover, Jun Qingwu had made it very clear that she had a motive for saving her. Which meant that right from the start, Jun Qingwu knew that the person under the black robe was her, Yi Qing Luo. Therefore, only then did Jun Qingwu lend a helping hand. The reason for Jun Qingwu's attack, It must be. Dmo Xian had mentioned it to her. Furthermore, the student who knew the whereabouts of the Saint Beast orb that the palace master of the Upper Xian Hall had mentioned. It could only be Jun Qingwu. Jun Qingwu raised her brows, her icy cold beautiful eyes fixed on Yi Qingluo. You're very smart. In other words, Yi Qingluo's guess was right. I've always been curious as to what's so special about the woman that Di Zun fancied. Now I finally understand. Jun Qingwu stood up calmly. I promised Di Zun that I would protect you when he's not around. So, please don't cause too much trouble or I'll get annoyed. The woman's cold voice was devoid of any emotion. It was extremely cold. Yi Qingluo was slightly stunned. Dmo Xian asked Jun Qingwu to protect her? This was the reason why Jun Qingwu had saved her last night? However, why did Dmo Xian let such a beautiful and courageous woman to protect him? Isn't it enough for her to have Beiyuan as her secret guard? Wasn't Dmo Xian afraid that because she was jealous of Jun Qingwu's beauty and power, she would be willful and unreasonable? Yi Qingluo expressed. How could she let such a noble and mysterious existence protect her? She was under a lot of pressure. Although Yi Qingluo's expression didn't change much. But that pair of eyes was bursting with a myriad of changes. Chapter 2303. You smiled. Yi Qingluo's eyes sparkled as her brows revealed a smile. You look even prettier when you smile. The smile on Jun Qingwu's face froze. She pursed her lips and restrained the smile on her face. She turned her head and walked away in embarrassment. She must have been blinded by lard earlier to think that Yi Qingluo was cute, especially when her mind was filled with so many things related to her. She tried her best to put on a calm look. Jun Qingwu pursed her lips even tighter as she clenched her fists and hastened her footsteps. Student Jun Qingwu. Yi Qingluo's voice was heard from behind. She paused but didn't turn back. You should have something else that you haven't told me. Yi Qingluo ran up to her. Jun Qingwu slowly turned back as her cold gaze met her eyes. This afternoon's training, win me and I will tell you. Saying that, she turned around and walked towards the direction of the class of gods. Yi Qingluo? Are you sure you're not teasing me? Jun Qingwu's ability was obviously not on the same level as those students in class of gods. Compared to Jun Qingwu, it was like class of gods and devil class. But looking at Jun Qingwu's back view, Yi Qingluo's gaze gradually became determined. Challenging the strong had always been her interest. She wouldn't back down. Break time was up. The two classes returned to the team. Yi Qingluo looked at the empty space in the team. Long Yunzhan and Tong Ziqing didn't return. Si Minghan didn't return from class of gods either. It looked like the relationship between the three of them hadn't been resolved yet. The second round of training was guided by teacher Shenqing. Shenqing only glanced at the empty space indifferently before looking away. She didn't ask any questions. Teacher Shenqing was in charge of actual combat. His habit was to let the class of devils and the class of gods fight each other in the arena. Devil class was on one side. Class of gods was on the other side. The loser would return to the spectator seating while the winner would continue to stand on the arena, until all the students in each class were defeated. The student who obtained the final victory would receive a bottle of essence chi pills specially made by the teacher. These 2 days, the one standing on the arena had always been devil class's Long Yunzhan. Today the students in class of gods were in high spirits and filled with excitement. Because Jun Qingwu was back. The ones standing in the arena today would definitely not be students from the devil class. The class of gods could finally regain their dignity. The arrogance of the class of gods was clearly on the rise. A smile appeared on Shenqing's face. For the past 2 days, the class of gods had been tortured by the class of devils to the point that they were doubting their own lives. Now, the students of the class of gods were finally invigorated. His gaze went back and forth between Jun Qingwu and Yi Qingluo. Today's special training would be more exciting than he had imagined. The training began. In the first group, both sides sent out their weaker students. This was because the more powerful the students were usually placed at the end. Otherwise, wouldn't it be easy for him to lose if he exhausted all his strength from the start? Ni Rupan's current strength had already reached the Earth Profound Realm. Ni Rupan's performance was considered good regardless of whether it was her stamina or her consciousnness. However, Ni Rupan still lost the first round due to the disparity between their profound ranks. The devil class substituted someone. After a few rounds, Xiao Jin went up and the gap between both parties widened. Devil class had the upper hand. When there were only 3 people left in the class of gods, the stronger students from the class of gods came up. On the side of devil class there were still 5 people left. Xiao Jin took a look at Yan Xiaoyi and saw her eager gaze. He exchanged 10 over moves with that student and admitted defeat. Chapter 2304. Around half an hour later, Yan Xiaoyi successfully defeated the students from Class of God. Shen Qing looked towards the direction of the students from Class of God. Other than Jun Qingwu, there were still 2 people left. He was preparing to pick one of the students to accept the challenge, only to see Jun Qingwu stand up. Her sea blue long dress fluttered in the wind. Facing the breeze, it made her look even more indifferent. She slowly walked to the front of Yan Xiaoyi, her icy cold gaze looked at her indifferently. "I'll do it." Yan Xiaoyi's pretty face stiffened. How could she not feel the powerful aura emitted from Jun Qingwu in front of her? It was so oppressive that she almost couldn't breathe. Yan Xiaoyi clenched her fists tightly. Xiao Jin worriedly said, "Xiaoyi, don't force yourself." She pursed her lips, her gaze fixed on Jun Qingwu without blinking. She wasn't resigned to admit defeat like this. "Student Jun Qingwu, please enlighten me." Yan Xiaoyi clenched her fists tightly as she fiercely attacked Jun Qingwu. Jun Qingwu didn't move at all, until Yan Xiaoyi's attack came. The next moment, Jun Qingwu seemed to have melted into the air as she disappeared. Yan Xiaoyi's punch hit empty air. Yan Xiaoyi's face turned pale. Her perception totally couldn't detect Jun Qingwu's presence. This kind of situation, Yan Xiaoyi and Yi Qingluo had a similar match before. Yi Qingluo used her speed, making her unable to trace. In the end, she lost the match with a dazed look. This student called Jun Qingwu, not slower than Yi Qingluo's speed. Suddenly, Yan Xiaoyi heard the sound of wind beside her ear. She immediately turned to the right and did a side flip. Her footsteps had just stabilized, when she saw a ball of sea blue brilliance pressing towards her. She didn't dodge this attack at all. In her heart, an unknown energy surged. The black sickle blade surged in her blood, trying to protect its own master. As the attack pressed down, Yan Xiaoyi's slender fingers gradually clenched tightly. The black sickle blade was about to break through her body. Just at this critical moment, a small palm but incomparably warm covered her shoulder. A young lady's gentle voice rang beside her ear, "Xiaoyi, next is my battlefield." All of a sudden, the restlessness in his body vanished. Yan Xiaoyi's eyelashes fluttered and she blinked blankly. She met a pair of eyes that seemed to be decorated with stars. Qingluo? Yan Xiaoyi opened her mouth. It was Yi Qingluo who appeared by her side in time. Raising a hand, he steadily blocked the oncoming dark force. Yan Xiaoyi still had some lingering fear when she thought back to the strange state of her body. She said in a low voice, "Be careful." Then he retreated. As soon as they returned to the audience seating area, Xiao Jin pulled her into his embrace. "Xiaoyi, what happened to you just now?" Yan Xiaoyi shook her head. I don't know." Just now, her body seemed to be inexplicably agitated. The black scythe blade seemed to be rushing out of his body. This was just a competition. The Xian energy that Jun Qingwu attacked did not contain any killing intent. At most, she would suffer some superficial wounds. But in that instant, why was there such a strong and strange feeling? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? After the training ends, let's look for Ghost Doctor to take a look. Xiao Jin looked at Yan Xiaoyi's pale look as he hugged her tightly with a worried gaze. Yan Xiaoyi nodded. Let's see Qingluo first." She suppressed the uneasiness in her heart and focused her attention on the training grounds. On the training grounds, Jun Qingwu and Yi Qingluo stood face to face. Yi Qingluo smiled as she looked at Jun Qingwu's cold face. "Student Jun Qingwu, if I didn't win you, would you not tell me?" Chapter 2305. The smile on Yi Qingluo's lips grew brighter and her eyes were filled with excitement. Then, "Jun Qingwu, please show some mercy." Her words had just ended when Yi Qingluo's figure had already dashed forward. Her entire body was shrouded in a layer of enchanting red glow. Thick, profound energy encircled her beast body, one round after another, as if it was a whirlpool that was about to attack. Streams of airflow turned into the shape of a tornado, rising from the soles of Yi Qingluo's feet. For a moment, the entire training ground was eroded by the majestic profound qi. The pupils of the students of the class of gods constricted. They stared at Yi Qingluo in disbelief. Sky Mystic Overlord's profound energy. Heavenly Academy's lower class, actually nurtured such a young Sky Mystic Overlord? No wonder Yi Qingluo had such a high status among this group of abnormal devil class students. Yiqing Luo herself was a strong cultivator. These 2 days of battle training. Yiqing Luo would usually defeat 1 or 2 students from the class of gods and would be replaced by Long Yunzhan. Unexpectedly, Yiqing Luo's real strength was actually a strong cultivator. Sky Mystic first grade, not bad. Jun Qingwu's calm voice rang. Following that, her figure suddenly disappeared. Yiqing Luo's attack fell into thin air. But, the next moment, Yiqing Luo lifted her leg and kicked hard towards the right side. Bam! Her right leg knocked against Jun Qingwu's elbow and both of them retreated a few steps. Jun Qingwu raised her eyebrows as her red lips curled into a cold arc. Your reaction is not bad. After Yiqing Luo stabilized herself, she gathered her profound energy again and waved her palm upwards. There are still many who are not bad. Jun Qingwu can slowly teach me. Let's wait and see. In Jun Qingwu's cold eyes, there was a trace of interest. She raised both her hands and profound qi surged as she met Yiqing Luo's palm. Bam bam bam. The deafening profound qi bombarded the entire training ground. The flowing profound energy was scattered everywhere. The surrounding crowd was also affected by the profound energy. However, the two in battle had not noticed it at all. Shen Qing immediately called for the students to retreat from the training ground. A barrier was formed, separating the battlefield from the students. This battle caused Shen Qing's eyes to flicker with uncontrollable excitement. This young lady called Yiqing Luo. It was indeed extraordinary. Even though he was only at the first level of the Sky Profound Realm. But her strength, her skills and her fighting skills were all unmatched. It was something that even these old seniors were amazed by. Let's watch this match. It wasn't just the students who had the opportunity to learn. It was the same for him. It was their loss that Old E and Old Fatty did not come. The battle continued. Yiqing Luo's gaze was sharp and the movements of her hands became increasingly swift. One set of palm technique after another was executed smoothly. He closed in on Jun Qingwu step by step without any intention of backing down. Jun Qingwu had obviously suppressed her Shen Qi. Yiqing Luo could sense it. In his heart, a certain conjecture about Jun Qingwu gradually formed. Jun Qingwu narrowed her beautiful eyes and defended herself several times. Yiqing Luo was overbearing. Jun Qingwu's lips curled and after noticing Yiqing Luo's action, her smile became even colder as her imposing manner rose sharply again. A burst of sea blue energy erupted from Jun Qingwu's body again. Chapter 2306. This attack was enough to defeat Yiqing Luo directly. However, just as they were holding their breaths in trepidation, they saw the young lady who was originally within Jun Qingwu's attack range suddenly turned around and her feet swiftly stepped out in extremely strange footwork. Immediately following that red figure disappeared in the sea blue energy encirclement. This reaction, this footwork, it was simply amazing. The crowd couldn't help but applaud. Honestly, if it was them, they would absolutely not be able to react so quickly. Looking at Yiqing Luo, after escaping from Jun Qingwu's attack, she swiftly counterattacked. When the crowd saw Yiqing Luo's counterattack clearly, they were all stunned. They saw Yiqing Luo's entire body was glowing brightly. Her entire body was like an arrow leaving the bow, speedily getting close to Jun Qingwu. Immediately following that, both her hands flipped over and struck towards Jun Qingwu. Wasn't this the move that Jun Qingwu had used earlier? In just a short period of time, Yiqing Luo had perfectly replicated Jun Qingwu's move. Moreover, it had been improved. It was a profound energy blockade which left Jun Qingwu with no way to escape. Heavens! This Yiqing Luo was simply too terrifying. Just that one move and she had completely replicated the opponent's move. She even targeted the reason why she was able to avoid that move and made some changes. This kind of godly skill in the entire Nirvana realm, Yiqing Luo was probably the first. Jun Qingwu was obviously stunned by Yiqing Luo's counterattack. That pair of clear beautiful eyes slightly widened. Her eyes were filled with a glint of surprise. And coincidentally, Yiqing Luo's attack had already landed. Just as the crowd was marveling at Yiqing Luo's valiant ability and regretting that Jun Qingwu had lost the competition, they saw Yiqing Luo, who was originally standing at the original spot, suddenly changed her footwork and she had already rushed to the front of Jun Qingwu. Just as that attack was about to land, her palm moved and a red feather fan suddenly opened up on her fingertips. Bam! The profound energy landed and the glower flame fan in Yiqing Luo's hands shot out intense rays of light. The enchantment which was formed blocked the profound energy completely. The profound chi's ripples were flowing. The girl's red clothes fluttered in the wind. She was obviously petite, but she stubbornly stood in front of Jun Qingwu, protecting Jun Qingwu behind her. Everyone was stunned. What was going on? Earlier that attack, wasn't it Yi Qingluo herself who exploded out? How did she run over and block my attack? Jun Qingwu was also stunned. Her ice-cold beautiful eyes were a little dazed. She stared blankly at the extremely delicate shoulder in front of her, yet it was standing in front of her, blocking the profound energy in front of her. Her heart was violently shaken. He couldn't describe what it felt like. Are you stupid? Fortunately, this is just a competition. If it was a real battlefield, you could easily lose your life if you just stare blankly like that. The girl's reprimanding voice sounded in his ears. Jun Qingwu's long and dense eyelashes fluttered like butterfly wings. Her eyes slowly returned back to Yi Qingluo's face. Looking at the girl's serious expression and tightly knitted eyebrows, Jun Qingwu's heart softened for no reason. She suddenly understood why this young lady was able to capture Dmo Xian's heart, and was able to make Zhu Wu Xian's heart move for her. This kind of lady? Chapter 2307. In the end, Yi Qingluo won this match. When the master announced the end of the training and gave everyone time to eat and rest, the training would continue in the evening. Jun Qingwu headed straight to the entrance of the training ground. Yi Qingluo quickly followed. Jun Qingwu's footsteps were slow, as if she was deliberately waiting for her. Yi Qingluo noticed this and her lips curled into a faint smile. She followed behind Jun Qingwu. The two of them walked on the small path, one in front and one behind. Not knowing how long they had walked, Jun Qingwu frowned and turned to look at her. How much longer are you going to follow me? That depends on how much longer you want to walk. Yi Qingluo replied with a smile. Jun Qingwu frowned even tighter. I'm not walking anymore. You said that if I win you will tell me what I want to know. Yi Qingluo continued to reply with a smile. She could feel it. After the actual combat training, Jun Qingwu was no longer as cold towards her as before. The move of a hero saving a damsel in distress was useful at any time. Even if it was between the same gender, it was still useful. Moreover, she also felt that she had replicated Jun Qingwu's attack on the training ground and blocked it for her. That attack was really cool. She was a man. She was afraid that she would fall in love with her. It was no wonder that such a cold person like Jun Qingwu had changed towards her. After all, she was that handsome. Jun Qingwu fixed her gaze on her, her eyes were icy cold. After a while, she walked to the other side of the small path. Yi Qingluo followed without saying a word. In the dark, Fatty Master and Master Yi walked out. They stared at Jun Qingwu and Yi Qingluo's back and heaved a sigh of relief. I thought that a mountain cannot accommodate two tigers and they would fight the moment they meet. Luckily. Fatty Master also wiped his sweat. The Overlord said that the strong will appreciate each other. I didn't expect that. They really became friends. It's good that they're friends. At least we don't have to think of ways to make our relationship better. Teacher E heaved a long sigh of relief and pulled Fatty Teacher towards their resting room. I really don't know if we're lucky or unlucky. The students this year are getting more and more abnormal, and even all the big shots are coming to the class of gods in groups. The fat teacher shook the fat on his face. To be honest, I have never seen so many big shots in the upper realm. Teacher E nodded his head empathically. I still hope that a month's time will pass quickly. This young lady is too good at stirring up trouble. Our students are not like those perverts in the devil class, they can handle the sudden changes in the situation. Yi Qingluo followed behind Jun Qingwu and arrived at Jun Qingwu's dormitory. She has a single room. The location of the room was good, and it was extremely clean and tidy. An outer room and an inner bedroom. What made Yi Qingluo astonished was, from top to bottom the room seemed to have been replaced with new things. Like the tables and chairs in the outer room, the tea set. Like the little decorative items in the surrounding, and the luminous pearl by the door. These looked new no matter how she looked at it. This room shouldn't be a room that someone had stayed in for a long time. Chapter 2308. Yi Qingluo retracted her gaze and sat opposite Jun Qingwu. Then what can you reveal? Sacred Beast Pearl. Jun Qingwu spat out word by word. Yi Qingluo's smile froze slightly. Her back slowly straightened as her eyes fixed on Jun Qingwu. Where is the Sacred Beast Pearl? A long time ago the god race's deity emperor passed away and was buried in the void. The god race's deity emperor divided his remaining profound energy into 4 portions and hid it on the 4 sacred beasts under the god race, forming the Sacred Beast Pearl. Eastern Azure Dragon Pearl. Southern Vermilion Bird, vermilion bird pearl. Western white tiger pearl. Northern black tortoise pearl. Jun Qingwu's voice was extremely cold. But the words that she spat out were extremely clear and seeped into one's eardrums. Sacred beast pearl? Is on the sacred beasts? Yi Qing Luo recalled the two sacred beasts in her pet space. She seemed to have never heard Qi and Qi Yan mention anything about the sacred beast pearl on her. Not really. Jun Qingwu shook her head as she glanced at her indifferently. You grew up in 3 spring sects, so you should know about the 4 great sects. Yi Qing Luo was stunned. 4 great sects? Jun Qingwu said that the 4 sacred beasts were under the god race. And the 4 great sects were rumored to be the god race's guards, distributed in the 4 corners of Nirvana realm, guarding the god race's deity emperor's tomb. Jun Qingwu mentioned this point at this moment. Could it be that the sacred beast pearl wasn't on the sacred beasts, but in the 4 great sects? You guessed correctly. As though she could read Yi Qing Luo's thoughts, Jun Qingwu spoke calmly. The sacred beast pearl is guarded by every sect patriarch. Their ancestral teachings were passed down to prevent the 4 sacred beast pearls from being gathered one day. What? Yi Qing Luo's eyelashes trembled slightly when she heard that. Why? Did the sect patriarchs want to prevent the 4 sacred beast pearls from being gathered? Didn't the Lord of Profound Palace say this sacred beast pearl was a shortcut to the upper realm? Suddenly Yi Qing Luo recalled what Jun Qingwu said earlier. Before the Divine Emperor passed away, he divided his remaining dark force into 4 parts and injected it into the 4 divine beasts. That was how the Divine Emperor came to be. If he gathered all 4 sacred beasts' pearls, could it be that the remaining power of the Divine Emperor would also fuse with it? More accurately speaking, would the appearance of this power cause countless people to go crazy in pursuit of this power? The Upper Mystic Hall Master was lying to her? Indeed, as you have guessed, once the 4 sacred beast pearls are gathered and the god race blood is used to break the seal, the power and the sacred beast pearls will become the power of the person who breaks the seal. Jun Qingwu's eyes did not waver at all. There was not the slightest fluctuation in his tone. But the content of her words was shocking. Of course, the 4 sacred beast pearls can indeed open any entrance to the upper realm. However, once the entrance is opened, it is necessary to release the remaining Divine Emperor's Shen energy. Jun Qingwu suddenly lowered her voice, causing the atmosphere and mood to become extremely cold at this moment. This power will spread throughout the Nirvana realm and the upper 3 realms. Yi Qing Luo's heart trembled violently. Her face was a little pale. That was to say, once the power of the 4 sacred beast pearls was used to open the passageway, which was to tell everyone, someone had inherited the remaining Divine Emperor's Shen energy from the 4 sacred beast pearls. Even though that person might not be Yi Qing Luo. Once this matter was known by others, even if Yi Qing Luo went to the upper 3 realms, she would still be chased after. Chapter 2309. Then, is there any other way for me to go to the upper realm? Yi Qing Luo clenched her fists. Her heart was filled with complicated feelings. She didn't understand why the Lord of the Upper Profound Palace would hide such an important matter. Or, the Lord of the Upper Profound Palace wanted to make use of her to get the 4 sacred beasts' beads? But, the Lord of the Upper Profound Palace asked her to look for Jun Qingwu in the class of gods. However, Jun Qingwu had clearly told her the truth. The Lord of the Upper Profound Palace didn't expect that Jun Qingwu, who was also DMO Shen's friend, would tell her the hidden power behind the 4 sacred beasts' beads. Or, was there another conspiracy? Yi Qing Luo expressed that her brain was not enough to use. Your profound grade is not enough to ascend to the upper realm. Jun Qingwu narrowed her beautiful eyes. If you want to go to the upper realm, cultivate for a few more years. A few years, although she also wanted to stay in the Nirvana realm. She wanted to accompany her brothers. But if she stayed in the Nirvana realm, her strength would never be able to improve. The general strength in the Nirvana realm was a little weak for her now. It completely couldn't stimulate her to advance or break through. If she wanted to become stronger, she had to go to a higher place and accept a stronger opponent. Otherwise, what could she use to protect the things she wanted to protect? What could she use to find out her own origin? There's another way. Jun Qingwu looked at Yi Qing Luo's depressed look, pursed her lips and said calmly, "What?" Yi Qing Luo's eyes lit up. Gather the 4 sacred beasts' beads and open the passage. Looking at Jun Qingwu's red lips opened and closed, spitting out such a sentence. Yi Qing Luo lowered her eyes. I don't intend to do risky things. This didn't mean that she was afraid of danger and didn't dare to fight to the death with those who wanted to snatch the 4 sacred beasts' beads. But there was no need to deal with such a situation. She cherished her life. She had a bunch of brothers who cared about her. She had a lover whom she cared about. She cherished her life very much. She wouldn't easily take her life as a joke. More importantly, she not only had the Azure Dew bracelet, Divine Phoenix Profound Jade, but also a map that even Dmo Shen cared about. If she attracted the attention of those people from the upper realm, it would be very easy to expose these secrets that she was hiding. She couldn't risk it. Let me finish. Jun Qingwu rolled her eyes at her coldly. Yiqing Luo who was rolled her eyes. Why did she feel that Jun Qingwu was very cute when she was being rolled her eyes? Finally, he wasn't expressionless anymore. Jun Qingwu regained her expressionless face. You formed a contract with the 4 great sacred beasts and used a drop of the sacred beast's blood to form a contract with the 4 sacred beast pearls as your lifeline. Contract? The 4 great saint beasts? Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned. Then, what will happen after contracting the 4 sacred beasts' beads? The remaining power of the Divine Emperor in the sacred beast pearl will be sealed in the sacred beast pearl. Jun Qingwu answered calmly. It was as if the power inside the sacred beast pearl was just ordinary power. Sealed? After sealing it, I can open the passage to the upper realm? Also, it won't attract other people's attention? This method seemed to be quite good. Jun Qingwu squinted her beautiful eyes. But contracting the sacred beasts isn't an easy task. The 4 great saint beasts were once the guardian sacred beasts of the god race. Deep in their bones, there is a noble bloodline and they will not easily lower their heads to humans. Yiqing Luo was very clear about this point, other than Chi-Chi being adorable. Chapter 23:10. Also, Jun Qingwu paused for a moment. A trace of coldness and seriousness appeared on her beautiful face. Once you contract the 4 sacred beast pearls, the sacred beast pearls will become your lifeline just like the 4 great sacred beasts. If others find out that you have the sacred beast pearl on you and snatch it away, wanting to absorb the remaining profound energy in the sacred beast pearl. Jun Qingwu's voice became deeper and deeper, revealing a strong sense of warning. Once the remaining profound energy within the sacred beast orb disappears, you will turn into ashes together with the sacred beast orb, and the 4 great sacred beasts that you have contracted will once again turn into sacred beast stone statues, and lose their source of life. Yiqing Luo's pupils dilated little by little. In other words, she only had 2 choices now. Or, he could spend a few years to cultivate to the minimum standard of being able to ascend to the upper realm and ascend to the upper realm. Although this method was time-consuming, it was safe. Or he could contract the sacred beast bead. This method was too dangerous. You still have a long time to think about it. Jun Qingwu knocked on the table. The rhythmic sounds brought Yiqing Luo back to her senses. I'm not asking you to make a decision right now. After all, you might not necessarily be able to form a contract with the 4 great divine beasts, right? Jun Qingwu's clear voice was like a murmuring brook, slowly pacifying the restlessness in Yiqing Luo's heart. Yiqing Luo's heart calmed down a little. Besides, the sacred beast pearl is in the hands of the sect leaders of the 4 major sects. Are you sure you can get it easily? Jun Qingwu rolled her eyes at her again as if laughing at her thinking too much. Yiqing Luo expressed that what Jun Qingwu said was very reasonable and she actually couldn't refute it. So, wait until you get the sacred beast bead and contract a sacred beast, then you can slowly think about this problem. When Jun Qingwu said this, her eyes flashed with a hint of slyness. Yiqing Luo? If she really got the sacred beast pearl and contracted 4 sacred beasts, she wouldn't need to be so conflicted, all right. It was a contract. Why did she have the guts? Did he feel like he had been tricked by Jun Qingwu? While she was thinking, Jun Qingwu had already stood up and looked at her coldly. No problem. You can scram now. Did Yiqing Luo need to be so cool? However, there were no other problems. She came to find Jun Qingwu to ask about the sacred beast pearl. She looked at the time. There was still an hour left before the break. She had to eat something first to replenish her strength before heading to the training ground to gather. Immediately Yiqing Luo stood up. Then I'll go first. As she spoke, she walked out of the house. Just as he stepped out of the house, Yiqing Luo's words paused at the side of her mouth. At this moment, Jun Qingwu turned around and headed towards the inner room. The gauze curtain at the entrance of the inner chamber fluttered, making Jun Qingwu's silhouette appear somewhat indistinct. In his mind, a figure overlapped with Jun Qingwu's figure. Yi Qing Luo's eyes widened as she rushed into the room and grabbed Jun Qing Wu's wrist. It's you. It's you? Jun Qing Wu frowned. What's wrong with you? It was you who sealed my voice. Yi Qing Luo's eyes were burning as she stared into Jun Qing Wu's eyes. Don't try to deny it, my memory is not wrong. That day, it was the dark forces who allied with other forces, trying to invade the West Continent. Godless Island's young island Master Island Yigan was also involved. Later on, they made use of the poison in Yen Xiaoyi's body as a bargaining chip to threaten her to release that Earth Realm old man as well as Lord Yu. She was just about to compromise. But she discovered that her voice was sealed. Chapter 23:11. Earlier through those gauze curtains that blurry figure. She immediately thought of the figure that had flashed by in the crowd. It was her. Jun Qingwu lowered her eyes and coldly swept a glance at the hand which was hugging her wrist and replied calmly, "That's right, it's me." What? Yi Qing Luo frowned. "Don't tell me you really want to compromise with Yigan?" Jun Qingwu sneered. Yi Qing Luo's thoughts were exposed. I knew the Overlord would come. Jun Qingwu's next sentence made Yi Qing Luo speechless again. Which meant? Jun Qingwu knew Dmo Xian would rush over. That was why they sealed her voice when she agreed to release the Netherworld and the old man from the Earth Realm. It was so that she wouldn't compromise. Wait till Dmo Xian arrived? Yi Qing Luo couldn't refute this explanation. But she still had some doubts. Then why did you escape in a hurry after sealing my voice? You don't know me and I don't want to know you. If I stay and get surrounded by your men it would be too troublesome. Jun Qingwu replied as though it was a matter of course. Yi Qing Luo? Alright, what she said made sense. If it was her she would also choose to leave. When her voice was sealed, Dmo Xian rushed over and not long after she was able to speak again. She could roughly feel it. The person who sealed her voice didn't have any ill intentions. Yi Qing Luo slowly released Jun Qingwu's wrist and smiled. I'll believe your explanation, I'll return to the training ground first. Saying that, she left Jun Qingwu's room. When the door behind her closed, the smile on Yi Qing Luo's face faded. She quickly left the small path of the dormitory and headed towards the training ground. Perhaps everyone was eating and resting, there was no one else on the small path. Yi Qing Luo looked around and released her perception as she called out in a deep voice, "Beiyuan, are you there?" The wind blew and the grass swayed. A slight breath slowly floated over. Following that, she saw a slender and charming figure, appearing in front of her. The lady's long sleeves were like smoke and the light muslin fluttered. She was dressed in a plain white dress which made her look like a fairy. Her face was gentle, exquisite and beautiful. Between her brows, she was graceful and charming. No matter how he looked at her, she did not look like a dark guard. Ordinary dark team guards were all dressed in black and wrapped themselves up as if they were afraid that others wouldn't know that they were dark team guards. Only Dmo Xian's secret guards would dare to be so daring. Yi Qing Luo knew the reason why Tang Beiyuan had always maintained such a dignified and beautiful appearance. She had heard it from Dmo Xian. Tang Beiyuan's fiancé, the man named Lang Li Xian, would also be transferred over. However, Tang Beiyuan was able to wear beautiful clothes when she was hiding without anyone noticing her presence. This was enough to prove her strength. Mistress. Tang Beiyuan bowed respectfully. Beiyuan, let me ask you, that Jun Qingwu, is she good friends with your overlord? Yi Qing Luo lowered her voice and asked softly. Tang Beiyuan shook her head. I've always been in charge of internal affairs in the Imperial Palace. I've never been around to protect His Majesty. If Di Zun's friend hasn't been to the Imperial Palace, I wouldn't know him. Alright, even Dmo Xian's secret guards did not know about it. It looked like they could only wait for Dmo Xian to return before they could ascertain Jun Qingwu's identity. Chapter 23:12. The Aura of the Upper Realm? Yi Qing Luo was stunned. There was a strange expression on her face. Jun Qingwu's appearance was too strange. Jun Qingwu was definitely not just a student of the class of gods. No. To be more precise, she was suspecting that Jun Qingwu was not a student of the class of gods. But to get close to her, she came to the class of gods. Linking the aura that Tang Beiyuan sensed, coupled with her guess, if all these were true. The teachers were acting strangely towards Jun Qingwu, and her incompatibility in the class of gods, and this room which did not look like a dormitory at all. Everything could be explained clearly. Currently the only thing she could be sure of was that Jun Qingwu did not have any ill intentions towards her. Perhaps it was as what Jun Qingwu said. Dmo Xian had specially instructed her to stay by her side and protect her. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyelashes and nodded. I understand. If you have a way to pass the news to Xian, please ask him about this matter. Tang Beiyuan looked troubled. If the Overlord was in the Nirvana realm, I would be able to pass the news to the Overlord as soon as possible. But, the Overlord is heading to the Upper Realm? The Upper Realm and Nirvana realm were very far apart. And it was totally not the same realm. This news would not reach Dmo Xian no matter what. Yiqing Luo sighed softly. Her slender fingers touched the profound phoenix ring which was suffused with a red glow. She tried to ask Tang Beiyuan because the profound phoenix ring could not sense Dmo Xian's profound dragon ring. It looked like the difference between the realms. Even divine weapons could not penetrate it. Forget it. After the final training session at night was over, she would go into the Azure Dew bracelet and ask Old Man Song. She would see how much of what Jun Qingwu had said just now was true and how much was false. Just as she was about to ask Tang Beiyuan to leave, Tang Beiyuan's expression changed as she whispered, "Mistress, someone is coming." Then she hurriedly disappeared into the air. The next moment he saw a group of people running toward him in twos and threes. 2 students from the class of gods. And 2 students from the devil class. The moment Kitty Li saw Yiqing Luo, her eyes lit up. Meow. It opened its arms and pounced towards Yiqing Luo. Following closely behind, and Ruopan panicked and said, "Qing Luo, something happened. Class monitor and student C from the class of gods are fighting." Yiqing Luo's hand which was rubbing Kitty Li's head paused. What's the matter? The 3 of them did not participate in the training just now. Why did they suddenly start fighting for no reason? I don't know either. They were fighting very fiercely. The class monitor seemed to want to kill student C. We couldn't stop him at all. Xiaoyi told me to find you. Only you can stop the class monitor. And Rupan's eyes were red as she quickly explained the situation. Yiqing Luo glanced at the 2 unhappy students from the class of God, her eyes dimmed. Bring me there. Actual combat training forest. Not long after they entered the forest, they heard the sound of profound energy and weapons colliding in front of them. The shouts of the students were also mixed in. Yiqing Luo's brows creased tightly as she hurried to catch up. He saw Long Yunzhan and Si Minghan fighting intensely, as if the other party was their father's murderer. The 3 masters rushed up to stop them but were forced back by the 2 of them. Obviously they would not stop until one of them was dead. Long Yunzhan held the blue long sword in his hand as his profound energy surged, wave after wave. The long sword seemed to be covered with a layer of scales, shining with a strange luster. Chapter 23:13. Yiqing Luo's brows creased tightly as her gaze was fixated on the long sword in Long Yunzhan's hand. Had he really gone mad? In order to kill Si Minghan, he didn't even intend to conceal his identity as a human dragon? He actually covered his own dragon scale on the sword. Long Yunzhan. The young lady cried out sharply as her gaze was burning as she stared at the man who was still in battle. The man whose name was called turned slightly stiff. The hand which was holding the long sword tightened. Everyone turned to look at Zhang Xian. Qing Luo. Tong Ziqing saw Yiqing Luo coming and immediately ran in front of her. She was usually cold and elegant, but at this moment she was crying her eyes out. Tong Ziqing hugged Yiqing Luo's arm. Qing Luo, quickly stop class monitor. He seems to have gone mad. Totally doesn't listen to me. Tong Ziqing was sobbing as she couldn't speak clearly. Yiqing Luo patted the back of her hand lightly. On the other side, the battle which had stopped momentarily continued. Long Yunzhan suddenly roared as the blue long sword in his hand was raised up high above his head. A burst of blue profound glow was released from his body. Indistinctly, that blue long sword revealed an indistinct dragon shape. Yiqing Luo's heart trembled fiercely. Long Yunzhan, he really intended to expose his identity as a human dragon? Did he really intend to kill Si Minghan? This move, if it really hit Si Minghan would absolutely not be able to survive. Lass. In her mind, Old Man Song's voice suddenly rang, young lad Long's eyes are not right. Yiqing Luo immediately looked at Long Yunzhan's eyes. That pair of azure blue eyes were filled with waves after waves of turbulent waves. And around that eye socket, obviously, a wisp of black qi lingered around it. Profound Yin Qi. It was profound Yin Qi again. Dark forces profound Yin Qi. Looking at the long sword in Long Yunzhan's hand, the dragon shape was about to take shape. Yiqing Luo flew up and her fair slender palm clasped onto Long Yunzhan's hand which was holding the long sword. The bewitching red glow instantly blended with the blue light. Long Yunzhan's body started to stiffen. His raised arm could not be swung down. Yiqing Luo took the opportunity to look at Si Minghan and said sternly, "Leave this place quickly. He's been controlled by a secret technique." Si Minghan was originally thinking of ways to form a barrier to block Long Yunzhan's attack. Suddenly, a red light flashed before his eyes. Immediately after, he heard the girl's unquestionable shout. Almost instinctively, Si Minghan's figure quickly disappeared into the forest. However, Long Yunzhan did not return to normal because of Si Minghan's disappearance. His body was still extremely tense. That handsome and aloof face was twisted in an extremely terrifying manner. At such a close distance, the strand of black mysterious yin qi under the azure eyes was extremely horrifying. "Zhan." Yiqing Luo opened her mouth, calling Long Yunzhan's name. Long Yunzhan's body stiffened again, his eyelashes trembling slightly. But the madness in his eyes was still unbridled. He began to struggle. Yiqing Luo's grip tightened. He forcefully used his dark force to suppress Long Yunzhan's pressure. The dragon-shaped light pattern around the long sword also gradually dimmed. "Zhan, I know you can hear me." Yiqing Luo's voice was cold and filled with a penetrating feeling. "You don't want to hurt me, don't want to hurt any one of us, then listen to me." Long Yunzhan was still struggling. Chapter 23:14. The blue long sword was gleaming wantonly. It was still struggling against Yiqing Luo's profound energy. "Relax your body and mind, leave everything to me." Yiqing Luo's hand was trembling because of Long Yunzhan's struggle. Long Yunzhan's strength was huge. So huge that she couldn't hold Long Yunzhan's hand. Yiqing Luo was very clear. Once she let go of Long Yunzhan's hand, that long sword in Long Yunzhan's hand would become a killing weapon. She couldn't let Long Yunzhan do something that he regretted the last time. Otherwise it would happen again. Long Yunzhan's heart would definitely collapse. "Scram, get lost." A hoarse voice came out from Long Yunzhan's throat. A strong vicious qi filled Yiqing Luo's body and mind. Yiqing Luo's hand trembled even more violently because of Long Yunzhan's struggle. Yiqing Luo couldn't bear to hurt Long Yunzhan, so she didn't dare to use her profound energy to suppress it. However, Long Yunzhan had totally lost his rationality. He didn't have the slightest bit of pity. The stronger the strength, the heavier the vicious qi. His azure blue eyes were slowly covered by a black mist. Yiqing Luo couldn't hold Long Yunzhan's hand anymore. Her breathing was slightly messed up. She was just about to take a deep breath, thinking of a way to knock Long Yunzhan out. Suddenly, an intense scorching feeling gushed out from her heart. As though a raging fire was burning in her heart. This scorching feeling made Yiqing Luo's hand loosen a little. Long Yunzhan took the opportunity to backhand and patted Yiqing Luo's shoulder, breaking free. "Class monitor." "Qing Luo." Devil classes students behind her hurriedly called out. Yiqing Luo staggered backwards a few steps as her slender brows creased as she looked at her painful shoulder. Following that, her gaze shifted towards Long Yunzhan, who was standing at the original spot with a vicious look in his eyes. This gaze made Yiqing Luo's heart feel scorching as it corroded her internal organs. Her gaze was fixed on Long Yunzhan's chest. Yiqing Luo's pupils suddenly contracted. She hadn't had the time to investigate in detail if she had seen wrongly. The next moment, Long Yunzhan's explosive roar resounded. Ah! The roars were endless. Profound light flickered and profound energy surged. Long Yunzhan's expression became extremely sinister. Then he swung his sword horizontally. A ray of blue-colored profound energy slashed open a piercingly cold profound mark in the air, like circles and circles of ripples. Yiqing Luo's attention had already been attracted by the direction of Long Yunzhan's heart. The more she wanted to investigate, the more she wanted to know. His profound jade heart emitted more and more scorching heat. It was as if her entire heart was placed on a raging fire, roasting it back and forth. There was no time to dodge. "Long Yunzhan, stop!" From the direction of the devil class came a girl's cry. A tall and slender figure rushed over from afar. She rushed over to Long Yunzhan, stretched out her arms, wrapped them around his waist and buried her face in his chest. "Long Yunzhan, wake up. I beg you, wake up." The woman wept softly, her voice filled with helplessness and longing. "This kind of you, I'm afraid. I don't like this kind of you." Long Yunzhan, change back. "Change back, all right?" The surrounding vicious qi and the rumbling profound qi at this moment returned to tranquility. The frenzied man froze on the spot. He allowed the lady in his arms to hug him, crying out his name. Chapter 23:15. However, when the woman raised her head, what she saw was a pair of eyes filled with black chi. The lady's pupils constricted as she couldn't help but let out a shrill scream. Ziqing, be careful. Yiqing Luo noticed Long Yunzhan's change and immediately opened her mouth, wanting to pull Tong Ziqing back. The current Long Yunzhan was an unstable factor. He had no rationality. Even if it was Tong Ziqing, he wouldn't remember. Tong Ziqing couldn't take one attack from Long Yunzhan. But just as she was about to charge over, Long Yunzhan's profound energy, which had been stabilized for some time, started to roll over like waves of ripples. Bam! A heaven-shattering loud sound was heard. The profound chi struck the side of Yiqing Luo's feet, blocking her path. Long Yunzhan raised one hand as his 5 fingers locked onto the lady's shoulder. His slender fingers dived into the lady's skin one by one. Under the whistling strong wind, one could clearly hear the sound of bones breaking from Tong Ziqing's side. But Tong Ziqing had no intention to leave. She hugged Long Yunzhan tightly as the intense pain from her bones breaking only made her complexion paler by a few shades. Her teary eyes looked foolishly at Long Yunzhan's face, which was just inches away from her. Her lips curled slightly as her voice trembled slightly. Long Yunzhan, I said this before. No matter how you reject me, push me away, I will pester you. Until I die, I will pester you. Get lost. The hoarse voice was filled with rage. Long Yunzhan's 5 fingers exerted even more strength. Tong Ziqing was in so much pain that she broke out in cold sweat, but she refused to let go of Long Yunzhan. Ziqing. Move aside first, perhaps I know. Yiqing Luo was just about to say that she might have seen through the reason why Long Yunzhan became like this. Suddenly, Long Yunzhan, who heard her voice, turned his gaze towards her without blinking. That pupils which were filled with profound yin chi were emitting a strange and charming aura. He raised his other sword-wielding hand, and the blue profound light suddenly turned into a huge blue flying dragon. Setting off a raging wave, it slashed towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Long Yunzhan. Wake up. If you hurt her, you will regret it for life. Tong Ziqing's heart almost stopped beating when she saw Long Yunzhan's actions. Last time, Long Yunzhan was controlled by the dark forces and almost hurt Yiqing Luo. Later Yin Xiaoyi helped Yiqing Luo to block that move. However, it was enough to make Long Yunzhan feel so guilty that he almost wanted to give up and hide from them. If Long Yunzhan. Long Yunzhan. Without thinking Yiqing of Long, Tong Ziqing didn't even think as she gathered a burst of profound energy in her palm and held onto Long Yunzhan's wrist. How of her strength could be compared to Yun Long? In the next instant, her hand was pulled away. In a moment of desperation, Tong Ziqing grabbed Long Yunzhan's longsword with one hand. Yun Long of Yun? Long Yunzhan's violent attacks seemed to have been paused as he was stunned on the spot. Luo of Dong Long. Qing. Yun Zt. To say I. Of. Her beautiful eyes stared at Long Yunzhan as her heart trembled. Long Yunzhan, don't go on like this. Turn back into the Long Yunzhan that I like, okay? Yun eyes. Long Yunzhan's hand, which was holding the sword. Warm blood covered Long Yunzhan's hand. Long Yunzhan seemed to have sensed something. He turned his head stiffly and looked at his hand, which was stained with blood. He looked at Tong Ziqing, who was still holding the sword tightly, as though she wasn't afraid that the sharp blade would cut off her fingers. Chapter 23:16. Tong Ziqing furrowed her brows and threw her sword to the side in pain. The black energy in Long Yunzhan's eyes was still sweeping wildly. He stared blankly at Tong Ziqing's blood-soaked palm. He stared blankly at his blood-soaked hands. Little by little, his face became distorted. Long Yunzhan. Long Yunzhan? Tong Ziqing sensed Long Yunzhan's abnormality and anxiously called out his name. However, Long Yunzhan suddenly raised his hand and pushed her away forcefully. Tong Ziqing was dizzy from losing too much blood, and her physical strength could no longer hold on. With such a push, his whole body swayed and fell to the ground. She couldn't care less about the pain. She wanted to get up and return to Long Yunzhan's side. Long Yunzhan hugged his head and screamed in pain, ah. Ah. The screams were filled with immense pain, as if they were experiencing great torture. Long Yunzhan. Hearing the screams, Tong Ziqing was on the verge of tears. Long Yunzhan was in pain, but her heart was in even more pain. She stood up with great difficulty, and a wave of dizziness made her vision blurry. She stumbled towards Long Yunjian. "Don't come over." Long Yunjian's hoarse voice suddenly rose. "Leave me? I don't know what I'll do. Let's go. Hurry up and leave." Tong Ziqing stopped in her tracks. She tightened her grip. His palm, which had been cut by the blade, felt a stinging pain. Her consciousness cleared up a little. She moved her lips and her throat was a little dry. "Long Yunjian, I won't leave you, never. Go." Long Yunjian roared, causing his head to feel a strong piercing pain again. He let out another painful scream, clutched his head and fell to the ground. "Long Yunjian." Tong Ziqing's throat tightened. She took a deep breath and steadied her consciousness. She tried her best to move closer to Long Yunjian. Behind her, Yiqing Luo's cold voice was heard. "Ziqing, don't go over." Tong Ziqing was taken aback. There was a trace of bitterness in her beautiful eyes. "Qing Luo, save him. Only you can save him." Tong Ziqing finally gave up and walked up as she spoke in a hoarse voice, begging Yiqing Luo. "It's not me. It's you." Yiqing Luo shook her head as she looked at Tong Ziqing's eyes, which were filled with pain, as she sighed softly. "It's you who awakened him. If you were to get any closer, I'm afraid it would agitate." Before he could finish, a dong sound was heard. Tong Ziqing subconsciously turned her head and looked behind her. Long Yunjian fell to the ground with his eyes closed. Even though he had fainted, his brows were still tightly knitted together. "Long Yunjian." Tong Ziqing's heart skipped a beat. She raised her foot and rushed towards Long Yunjian. A strong dizziness drained all the strength from her body. In the next instant, Tong Ziqing's vision went black and she collapsed. Tong Ziqing only woke up the next morning. As soon as she woke up, she looked around and shouted Long Yunjian's name nervously. Hearing the commotion, Yiqing Luo pushed the door and entered. "Qing Luo, class monitor he. How is he?" Tong Ziqing looked at Yiqing Luo worriedly. "He's fine. Ghost Doctor and the 3 masters are taking care of him." Yiqing Luo walked to the bedside and bent down to lift Tong Ziqing's bandaged hand. "You're really daring. If Ajan really couldn't control himself and cut off your finger, when Ajan regains consciousness, how guilty would he feel?" Chapter 23:17. Yiqing Luo let go of her hand and frowned slightly. "Do you think he won't feel guilty for doing this? Won't he regret it for the rest of his life?" "In his heart, I'm not as important as you." Tong Ziqing's lashes were wet. "It's better for me to get hurt than you." Yiqing Luo's brows creased even tighter. "In that case, you blocked the sword with your bare hands because you feel that I'm more important than you in Ajan's heart?" "No." Tong Ziqing immediately raised her head as her face was filled with panic. "I don't mean it in that way, Qing Luo. It's not just for class monitor. I don't want you to get hurt." She stuttered as she explained. The lady who wasn't good with words, usually cold and elegant, had already removed her mask at this moment. Yiqing Luo looked at her and her heart softened a little. "Ziqing, no matter if it's Ajan or you, you're both my most important brothers. If any one of you gets hurt because of me, I will regret it." She paused as she stretched out her hand and placed it on Tong Ziqing's head. Her voice became gentler. "In future, don't do such silly things again." Tong Ziqing's beautiful eyes widened as she looked at Yiqing Luo in a daze for some time before she slowly nodded her head. "And I know. Now tell me the reason why Ajan and Si Minghan fought." Yiqing Luo sat beside Tong Ziqing as she sat on the bed. Asking about this matter, Tong Ziqing's cheeks suddenly flushed red. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. "Could it be because of love?" "No, it's not." Tong Ziqing immediately denied as her beautiful eyes fluttered unnaturally. "Class monitor, why would he?" "Because of me." "Ajan's situation is slightly complicated. You have to tell me the details of their fight so that I can analyze how exactly he was implanted with the profound yin qi." Yiqing Luo rubbed Tong Ziqing's head. In terms of age, Tong Ziqing was actually older than her by a year. But Yiqing Luo's mental age was too old. Yiqing Luo's consolation also made Tong Ziqing's restless heart gradually calm down after she heard about Long Yunjian's complicated condition. "I wanted to be alone. So I went to the actual combat training forest." Previously at the training ground, Yiqing Luo's words made it hard for her to calm down. She had always been wondering if loving Long Yunjian so stubbornly was the right choice. Later on, Si Minghan caught up. She, who had loved Si Minghan deeply, could naturally see his feelings for her. At least for now, Si Minghan really liked her. However, her heart had fallen onto Long Yunjian and could not be retrieved. She trapped herself in Long Yunjan's cage and was unwilling to come out. But Si Minghan said that he was willing to wait. He and she were the same kind of people. They all had their own stubbornness. For Long Yunjan, Tong Ziqing had loved him for so many years, waited for so many years and guarded him for so many years. He, Si Minghan, had loved Tong Ziqing for so many years, waited for so many years and guarded her for so many years. It was undeniable that her heart had been shaken by Si Minghan's words at that time. They had been in love for too long. They had been one-sided for too long. Tong Ziqing had almost forgotten, what does it feel like to be loved? Si Minghan could give her the feeling of being loved. Si Minghan could love her like how she loved Long Yunjan. Chapter 23:18. Such a thought flashed through her mind. Tong Ziqing quickly put it out of her mind. Because she wanted to be loved, she chose someone who loved her. Perhaps this was the best choice for many women. However, her obsession with Long Yunjan was so deep that it could not be cut. She had Long Yunjan in her heart. What right did she have to be loved by Si Minghan? She was not happy in love. Why did she have to ruin Si Minghan's life? Just as she was about to refuse, Long Yunjan came. The first time she saw Long Yunjan, Tong Ziqing was happy. Long Yunjan chased after her, which meant that he was worried about her and that she was in his heart. However, Long Yunjan's eyes slowly moved away when he saw Si Minghan holding her hand. He said, "I'm sorry to disturb you." After that he turned around and left. Tong Ziqing was stunned on the spot. His heart was filled with joy, but it was as if the water of December had been poured over him. Si Minghan held her hand tightly and swore loudly, "Ziqing, if you are willing to give me a chance, give us a chance, I will definitely make you the happiest woman." Tong Ziqing was stunned. She could hear Si Minghan's words. She could also hear the footsteps that stopped behind her. The words of refusal stopped at the tip of her tongue. She wanted to know how Long Yunjan would react. She wanted to know if Long Yunjan would be a little jealous. As long as, just a little, she would be like a moth flying into a flame without hesitation. However, the person behind her only paused for a moment. Then he walked away again. He didn't even say a word or make a sound. It was as if she would be with another man. It had nothing to do with him. Her heart sank little by little. Perhaps the pain that Long Yunjan gave her was unbearable. Or Si Minghan's smile was too bright. Tong Ziqing raised her head and looked at Si Minghan. She said word by word, "Okay. I agree to give you a chance." Si Minghan's eyes suddenly lit up. He was ecstatic and wanted to hug Tong Ziqing. Bang! A fist came crashing down. Si Minghan was caught off guard and was sent flying. Long Yunjan stood majestically in front of Tong Ziqing. Tong Ziqing stared blankly at the tall figure in front of her, and her eyes reddened. She carefully placed her hand on Long Yunjan's back and was about to speak. Long Yunjan's arm pushed backwards. He did not look back. His hand was stuck on her neck. It was an emotionless push. Scram! Long Yunjan's cold and furious roar echoed in his ears. Tong Ziqing's eyes widened in disbelief as her body swayed and fell to the ground. Long Yunjan had already taken out his long sword and attacked Si Minghan. Then it was a battle of life and death until now. After listening to Tong Ziqing's recollection of the scenario, Yiqing Luo's brows creased into a bundle. "Didn't you agree to Si Minghan's request because you heard that he had left? Why did Ajan appear before you the next instant? Are you sure his footsteps are leaving or walking towards you?" Yiqing Luo asked solemnly. Tong Ziqing blinked her eyes blankly. "I don't know. When he didn't respond, my mind went blank. Chapter 23:19. What problem? Tong Ziqing's heart tightened as she pursed her pale lips, her eyes filled with worry. "Qing Luo, what happened to class monitor? Why is his condition so complicated?" Yiqing Luo's expression changed slightly. She was silent for a moment. She narrowed her eyes and stared at Tong Ziqing for a long while. In the end, he decided not to hide it from Tong Ziqing. "In the training forest, you used your own blood to awaken Ajan's consciousness. He didn't want to hurt you, so he fought against the power that was forcing him to do so. As a result, he suffered a backlash and fell unconscious." Yiqing Luo summarized Long Yunjan's situation in a concise and comprehensive manner. Tong Ziqing's eyes widened in shock. After a long while, she hurriedly pushed away the quilt and said, "I'm going to see him. Master Ghost Doctor and the headmaster are taking care of him. Take care of yourself first." Yiqing Luo hurriedly supported Tong Ziqing, who had almost fallen onto the ground, as she forcefully pressed her back onto the bed. "Don't think too much, Ajan's willpower is very strong. It's just a backlash and it hasn't hurt his consciousness or soul, so he will wake up very soon. But Tong Ziqing still wanted to say something. He was interrupted by Yiqing Luo again. No buts, don't tell me you wish for Ajan to wake up to see you lying on the bed riddled with injuries because of him? No. Tong Ziqing immediately shook her head. The last time Long Yunzhan had hurt Yan Xiaoyi and was almost unable to walk out from his sins. Long Yunzhan knew that he had once again hurt her because of his manipulation. Long Yunzhan would definitely not be able to forgive himself. Especially since this was the second time she had been injured because of him. Long Yunzhan will definitely collapse. In the end, Tong Ziqing obediently lay back on the bed. Ziqing, have more confidence in yourself. Ajan, it's not that he doesn't like you. It's just that he doesn't know what it means to like someone. Seeing Tong Ziqing's wholehearted concern for Long Yunzhan couldn't help but sigh. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but sigh. She didn't know how Long Yunzhan was able to have such a beautiful, considerate and kind girl adore him. Long Yunzhan didn't know how to cherish it. A human dragon was a human dragon. Although half of his blood was human. However, it was still a dragon. She could not understand the feelings of dragons. However, as long as someone was willing to teach him, given Long Yunzhan's intelligence, he would definitely learn it very quickly. Yiqing Luo smiled as she looked at Tong Ziqing, and couldn't help but rub her head. Work hard, teach him what is love. Tong Ziqing's throat was a little dry. How could Long Yunzhan not know what it meant to like someone? Long Yunzhan clearly understood. It was just that the person he loved wasn't her. Yiqing Luo had already stood up as she smiled. Have a good rest, I'll go over to Ajan's side to take a look at the situation. Once there's any good news, I'll come over to tell you immediately. Then she pointed to the room next door. It's right next door. Tong Ziqing opened her mouth, but before she could say anything, Yiqing Luo had already walked out of the room. She lowered her eyes and looked at her bandaged palm. There was a bitter expression on her face. After walking out of the room next door was extremely quiet. Yiqing Luo pushed the door open and entered. Only Mo Ying stood beside the bed in a daze, her eyes lifeless. Hearing the noise, she turned her head stiffly. Where's Master Ghost Doctor? Yiqing Luo inquired softly. Going to the pill refining room to discuss about class monitor's situation. Mo Ying replied in a flat tone. Yiqing Luo nodded her head as she took a look at Long Yunzhan, who was lying on the bed with his brows knitted tightly, as though he was in extreme pain. She suddenly thought of something as she said to Mo Ying, go and have a rest first, I'll keep watch here. Star. Chapter 23:20. Mo Ying nodded in a daze. Oh. After that, like a puppet, she walked out stiffly step by step. The room door was shut. There was only one candle left in the room. The room was slightly dim. Yiqing Luo walked to the bedside and looked at Long Yunzhan's face carefully. She bent over and used her slender fingers to quickly check his face. Then she opened Long Yunzhan's eyes. There was no more profound yin qi. Yiqing Luo released her hand and straightened her body. Perhaps it was because of her touch earlier, it made Long Yunzhan feel a dull pain in his body. His brows creased even tighter. Yiqing Luo sat down by the bedside and frowned as she called Old Man Song out. Old Man Song's spiritual body circled a few rounds on top of Yiqing Luo's head and floated to the bedside. Last Luo, let me take a look at this lad? Old Man Song leaned close to Long Yunzhan and touched Long Yunzhan's tightly knitted brows with his fog-like hand. Yiqing Luo nodded. Ajan seems to be controlled by the profound yin qi again. But this is the class of gods, even if the dark forces appeared in the class of gods. They might not be able to do it without anyone knowing, not to mention the dark forces which no longer have any power. Old Man Song's fog-like palm slowly touched Long Yunzhan's forehead. A ball of white fog enveloped Long Yunzhan's body. Yiqing Luo held her breath and didn't disturb him anymore. After some time, the white fog gradually dispersed. Old Man Song seemed to be startled as his spiritual body floated above the muslin curtain. Old Man Song, what's the matter? Yiqing Luo raised her head anxiously. Old Man Song's reaction made her heart rise to her throat. Old Man Song's spiritual body floated a few rounds and returned to Yiqing Luo's side. His expression was grave. Last Luo, this lad. What controls him is not the profound yin qi. Yiqing Luo was stunned. Not the profound yin qi? Then what is it? I remember now. Didn't this kid get controlled by and in the tomb of the Ling King? That time, this old man felt a little strange. Old Man Song tightly knitted his fog-like white eyebrows. His voice was very heavy and solemn. This old man will ask you a very serious question. Yi Qing Luo's heart started to turn anxious. She took a deep breath and nodded. Go ahead. If I advise you to kill this kid, will you do it? Old Man Song's gaze bore into Yi Qing Luo. His tone was extremely serious. His expression was incomparably grave. Old Man Song was not joking. He was really suggesting to kill Long Yunjian. Yi Qing Luo was frightened by Old Man Song's gaze. She was stunned for a moment before shaking her head without any hesitation. No, Ajan is my brother. I can't kill him. This old man is your elder. Old Man Song was overbearing. Yi Qing Luo's throat choked, her long eyelashes fluttered in panic. Old Man Song. She furrowed her brows, her mind filled with confusion. If you want to kill him, at least give me a reason. Old Man Song's face was expressionless, but his tone was extremely serious. This kid's body has been poisoned by someone. Poison? What does that mean? Yi Qing Luo stood up in disbelief. Chapter 23-21. Yi Qing Luo's breathing tightened. Ajan he? How could he possibly? Long Yunjian was a human dragon. How could he have been poisoned without knowing it? Did he not feel anything at all from such a vicious goo poison? Furthermore, this venom has been in this kid's body for at least 10 years. Old Man Song's next sentence made Yi Qing Luo dumbstruck once again. More than 10 years? In other words, when Ajan was around 7 or 8 years old, this goo poison had already been implanted into his body? Ajan said that his memories before he came to the devil class were blank. Is it related to this goo poison? Yi Qing Luo suppressed the astonishment in her heart, trying her best to maintain her composure as she asked. Old Man Song slightly pondered for a moment. This old man has never deliberately researched goo poisons. As for whether or not it is related to goo poisons, this old man does not dare to confirm. Yi Qing Luo's fingers unconsciously curled up. The only thing that this old man can be sure of is that the cultivation method of this kind of poison is very complicated, and this kind of poison can only be found in the upper realm. It can be said that this poison is definitely cultivated by the people of the upper realm with extraordinary strength and high status. The upper realm, extraordinary strength, extremely high status. These few words kept reverberating in Yi Qing Luo's mind. Who could be so cruel? To actually implant such a vicious goo poison into a 7 or 8-year-old child's body. Since they were in the upper realm, their strength was so strong and their status was so high, why would they do such a thing to a 7 or 8-year-old child? Could it be related to the human dragon race? Yi Qing Luo suddenly recalled that the human dragon race only existed in the upper realm. Long Yunjian had lost his memories and did not know why he was in the nirvana realm. But he must have come from the human dragon tribe. It was very likely that before Long Yunjian left the human dragon clan, he had been poisoned by the human dragon, or some other profound practitioner. But what was the purpose of implanting the goo poison in Long Yunjian? Right at this moment, Old Man Song's spirit body swiftly rushed into Yi Qing Luo's wrist. In her mind, Old Man Song's voice sounded, "Little Luo, someone's coming. Be careful. If this brat wakes up, if his consciousness hasn't recovered, the only way is to kill him." No way. Yi Qing Luo rejected without thinking. You can't kill Ajan. He's only poisoned by a parasite. Since it's a parasite, there must be a way to cure it. Old Man Song didn't say anything else. He was actually very clear that Yi Qing Luo would never give up on her own brothers. All he did was state the worst-case scenario. To let Yi Qing Luo be mentally prepared first. The door was pushed open. The ghost doctor and the other 3 masters walked in. Jun Qingwu, Yan Shaoyi and the rest followed behind. On seeing Yi Qing Luo, Yan Shaoyi hurriedly walked up and spoke softly. Qing Luo, earlier ghost doctor and teacher Xin Qing checked on class monitor's body and class monitor's profound jade heart extracted a sliver of profound yin qi. Yi Qing Luo took a glance at ghost doctor. So the mystical yin qi had already been extracted. No wonder she did not feel any mystical yin qi on Xiao Jin's body. According to Old Man Song's conjecture, the reason Long Yunjian lost control in the tomb of the Ling King was very likely because the goo poison flared up. This time, it was also because of the goo poison. Moreover, both times it was related to the mysterious yin qi. Chapter 23-22. Ha! A cold sneer was heard clearly in the quiet room. Everyone looked towards the direction of the voice. They saw Jun Qingwu, who was standing at the door walking towards Long Yunjian. What are you laughing at? Yan Xiaoyi frowned as she stared at Jun Qingwu unhappily. If you're not here to visit class monitor, please leave. Jun Qingwu totally ignored Yan Xiaoyi. A pair of icy cold beautiful eyes stared at Long Yunzhan without blinking. Yan Xiaoyi, who was ignored, immediately revealed an angry look as she gritted her teeth and pointed at Jun Qingwu angrily. Hey! Student Jun Qingwu, what are you trying to? Don't limit his abnormality to the profound yin qi. Jun Qingwu's icy cold voice interrupted Yan Xiaoyi's words. Her words were obviously directed at Yi Qingluo. Yan Xiaoyi's words were stuck in her throat. His expression darkened a little. She was just about to speak when Xiao Jin had already pulled Yan Xiaoyi into his arms. Class monitor is still unconscious. If student Jun Qingwu has a way, it's a good thing. Yan Xiaoyi pursed her red lips as she breathed out heavily from her nose. Humph. Then she stuffed her little face into Xiao Jin's arms. This interlude was considered to be over. After Yi Qingluo heard Jun Qingwu's words, her pupils contracted as she looked over in astonishment. You mean? For him to become like this, are you sure that the profound yin qi has such a great ability? Jun Qingwu glanced at Yan Xiaoyi and the rest with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Yi Qingluo was stunned as she stared at Jun Qingwu for some time. A guess in her heart was slowly overlapping with the lady in front of her. Her heart suddenly thumped heavily. She looked towards Yan Xiaoyi and the other three masters. Before she could speak, the three masters had already found an excuse and left the room. Yan Xiaoyi looked at the three masters who left and looked at Long Yunzhan. An extremely dissatisfied expression surfaced on her pretty face. Why did she need to leave when they were discussing about class monitor? What could class monitor have to hide from her and Xiao Jin? Not waiting for Yan Xiaoyi to express her dissatisfaction, Xiao Jin had already gently held her shoulders. Let's go out and talk. Yan Xiaoyi snorted a few times, but still obediently followed Xiao Jin out of the room. The door closed, and after Xiao Jin half carried and half coaxed her away from Long Yunzhan's room, Yan Xiaoyi then angrily pushed Xiao Jin aside as her beautiful eyes stared wide open, her face filled with rage. Why did Qingluo hide the truth from us about class monitor's matter, but let Jun Qingwu participate instead? Jun Qingwu is a student of the class of gods. We are Qingluo's brothers, the class monitor's brothers. These words could be shouted out in anger at any time. But more than that, it was the sadness of being isolated by Yi Qingluo. Xiao Jin sighed softly. Every one of us have our own secrets, just like me, just like you. Class monitor also has his own secrets. Qingluo is not willing to let us know. It's for our own good, not because she doesn't treat you as a brother. He walked over and stretched out his arms, slowly pulling her into his embrace. He whispered in her ear, I'm not willing to tell the other brothers that I'm the future patriarch of the Huangfu family. Am I also isolating them from the world? Yan Xiaoyi pouted and glared at him. I know, but I just don't feel good in my heart. Chapter 23-23. Yan Xiaoyi pursed her red lips as her head fell heavily into Xiao Jin's arms. I know. Xiao Jin's large palm was placed on the back of her head as he gently rubbed it. A light breeze blew past. This scene was like a scene from a painting. Not far away, a figure stood at the corner, quietly looking at the two people who were hugging each other. He stared blankly at the two of them. That handsome face surfaced a tinge of blankness. His usual laziness had now been replaced by blankness. Although he wasn't able to hear Xiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi's conversation clearly, but he could roughly understand what they were talking about. The young man was stunned for a moment. This was the Brotherhood of Devil Classes students? This was the reason why Devil Classes students were able to fight braver and stronger the more they fought? This was also the reason why Tong Ziqing wanted to stay in Devil Class, unwilling to part with those brothers in Devil Class? The young man slowly lowered his eyelids, concealing the desolation in his eyes. In the room there were only Ghost Doctor, Jun Qingwu, Yi Qingluo and Long Yunzhan, who was lying on the bed. Yi Qingluo had no interest in beating around the bush. What you said earlier, what do you mean? Jun Qingwu's brows rose slightly as her red lips curled into an icy cold arc. As a human dragon, the profound yin qi from the dark forces doesn't have this kind of ability to control a human dragon. Jun Qingwu accurately stated Long Yunzhan's identity. Apparently, she had long known that Long Yunzhan was a human dragon. When Ghost Doctor heard the two words human dragon, he didn't reveal any astonishment at all. Yi Qingluo was expressing that she was the only one who thought that no one had discovered Zhan's identity, but actually, everyone already knew? I think so too. Ghost Doctor stood by the side. The profound Yin Qi is merely the fuse to agitate this young lad. Fuse? Yiqing Luo's delicate fists unconsciously curled up as she lowered her eyes to look at the unconscious Long Yunjian, who was still frowning. Zhan suddenly went berserk in Class of God's actual combat training forest. Where did the profound Yin Qi come from? His body already has the Shen Yin Qi hidden in it. Just a little bit of primer would be enough to summon the Shen Yin Qi. Moreover, it would become the fuse that would awaken the poison in his body. Jun Qingwu said expressionlessly. This time round Yiqing Luo was completely stunned. Her enchanting eyes slowly lifted as she stared intently at Jun Qingwu. You are definitely not a student of the Class of Gods. Who are you? Jun Qingwu could tell that Long Yunjian was a human dragon. He also saw the goo poison in Long Yunjian's body. According to the content of Old Man Sang's words, this kind of poison came from the upper realm and could only be cultivated by someone with great strength and status. However, Jun Qingwu could easily see through it. This wasn't something an ordinary student from the Class of Gods could do. Jun Qingwu's eyebrows rose as her cold eyes swept past Yiqing Luo, as she gave a sarcastic smile. What identity do I have, is more important than your brother lying on the bed? You're naturally not as important as Zhan. Hearing Jun Qingwu's words, she apparently had no intention to deny it. Yiqing Luo's heart sunk a little. I don't allow people with unknown origins to get close to my brother. Jun Qingwu's smile became even more sarcastic. Just based on you, you think you can stop me? This sentence had completely admitted all the guesses Yiqing Luo had towards her. Yiqing Luo's eyes were burning as she stared at Jun Qingwu for some time. I know you don't have any ill intentions towards me. Whether I do or not depends on your attitude. Jun Qingwu's smile was cold. Star. Chapter 23-24. Yiqing Luo's eyes were clear as she gazed at Jun Qingwu. After some time she smiled. You're Xian's friend, so I naturally treat you as a friend. She really sensed enmity from Jun Qingwu. Since the moment she suspected Jun Qingwu's identity, she would no longer have any close contact with her. The main reason why she trusted Jun Qingwu was because of Dmo Xian. Because Dmo Xian had personally admitted that Jun Qingwu was his friend. And another reason. She could tell that Jun Qingwu was indeed using her own method to help her. I don't have time to waste with you on these meaningless questions. Jun Qingwu's icy cold voice was devoid of any emotions. A gaze as cool as water swept past Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo shivered as her smile became even more radiant. Of course, her smile was even more radiant. Jun Qingwu wasn't interested in it. Jun Qingwu asked coldly, do you want to save Long Yunjian? Upon mentioning Long Yunjian, Yiqing Luo's expression instantly turned cold. She pursed her lips tightly as her eyes shone with a resolute radiance. Yes. Do you trust me? Jun Qingwu met her eyes as she calmly asked these three words. Almost without hesitation, Yiqing Luo smiled and nodded. I do. If you trust me, then listen to me. Jun Qingwu didn't show any signs of astonishment, as though she had guessed that Yiqing Luo would choose to trust her. Yiqing Luo didn't hesitate. What do you need me to do? Leave the Class of Gods with me, let's go to Northern Continent. Jun Qingwu sounded as though she was asking, how's the weather today, as her tone was extremely calm. But the contents of her words made Yiqing Luo stunned. Northern Continent? Yiqing Luo didn't understand. Why are we going there for? You haven't heard of Northern Continent's Miao Gu aristocratic family? Jun Qingwu's brows rose as she crossed her arms, using a, are you silly, expression as she swept Yiqing Luo from head to toe. Yiqing Luo shook her head in a daze as she answered honestly, no. Miao Gu aristocratic family? Ghost Doctor, who had been silent and didn't participate in their conversation, muttered these four words. Yiqing Luo regained her senses as she looked at Ghost Doctor. Master, you've heard of Miao Gu aristocratic family? The best among Gu, I have heard of the rumors of the Miao Gu clan. The Ghost Doctor grunted lightly. Gu poisons and medical skills have some similarities. Back then, I wanted to borrow the method of cultivating Gu poisons to refine pills, so I came into contact with things like Gu poisons. The Ghost Doctor pondered for a moment as if she was reminiscing. The Gu worms cultivated by the Miao Gu family, even the people of the upper realm would tremble in fear upon hearing them. Holy shit. Even the upper realm was afraid of the Nirvana realm's poison. That Miao Gu aristocratic clan was too shocking. She gulped down a mouthful of saliva and looked at Jun Qingwu. You mean to say that we should go to the Miao Gu aristocratic family and look for the people there to cure Zhan? No. Jun Qingwu glanced at her with a faint smile. It's not to cure the goo, but to suppress the outbreak of the goo. Only suppression? Yi Qingluo was shocked. Isn't it the Miao Gu family? Don't tell me they can't cure the goo poison in Zhan's body? The Miao Gu aristocratic family, de Gu Du, although their reputation in the upper realm has spread far and wide, but the goo poison in the lower realm is after all from the lower realm. The goo poison in Long Yunzhan's body can only be cured when we reach the upper realm and find the person who planted the goo. Jun Qingwu used a caring gaze as she looked at Yi Qingluo deeply. One word, are you going or not? Chapter 23-25. She knew all too well how terrible it felt to be manipulated. There was no consciousness, no feeling, no everything. His mind was completely blank. The only thing that remained was the order given by the person who controlled her. When he woke up, he was filled with vexation when he thought of the memory of not being able to control himself. It was good that no one was hurt. But if he was being controlled and hurt someone he didn't want to hurt, then he would definitely be killed. He was forced to do something he didn't want to do at all. After waking up, his emotions were unable to calm down. If one's willpower wasn't strong enough, they would probably collapse and go crazy. Stop dilly-dallying. If you go, I'll help you. If you don't, then don't waste my time. Jun Qingwu got impatient when she saw Yi Qingluo's silence. She was willing to help Yi Qingluo because she had received some benefits from DMO Xian. If Yi Qingluo didn't want to accept this, then she couldn't be bothered to waste her time here. Go. Yi Qingluo raised her head, her eyes filled with determination. I'll go. Regardless of whether he could cure the goo poison in Long Yunzhan's body. Even if it was temporarily suppressed, it was still worth a trip. She could not let Long Yunzhan be devoured by goo worms again. If Long Yunzhan went berserk again, it was very likely that he would never be able to find himself again. How long do we need to go back and forth? Yi Qingluo seemed to have thought of something as she asked. If everything goes well, half a month. If it doesn't go smoothly, it will depend on your ability to ask the people of the Miaogu family to help Long Yunzhan suppress the goo poison. Jun Qingwu replied indifferently. Yi Qingluo was stunned. What if during this period of time, Zhan wakes up and continues to go berserk? Since I have interfered in this matter, I will take full responsibility. Jun Qingwu opened her palm and a blue jade appeared in her palm. The jade was about the size of half a palm, and it shone with a sea blue radiance. If this thing is placed in Long Yunzhan's profound heart jade, it can ensure that he remains in a comatose state for 3 months. Jun Qingwu placed the jade stone into Yi Qingluo's hands. For the next 3 months, you don't need to eat or drink. This thing will replenish all the energy that Long Yunzhan needs. 3 months. Was there enough time in 3 months? As for the Northern Wave Continent, the Miaogu clan and so on? She was a stranger. He did not have much confidence that he would be able to invite the Miaogu aristocrat clan. If it was only 3 months, Yi Qingluo clenched her fist. His eyes were shining brightly. For Zhan's sake, he had to get it done within 3 months. Without further ado, that very night, Yi Qingluo told the Devil Class's students that she would be heading towards the Northern Continent tomorrow. Yi Qingluo didn't explain in detail the reason why she headed to the Northern Continent, but simply told everyone that there was someone in the Northern Continent who could save Long Yunzhan. The youths were reluctant. But when he saw the class monitor lying on the bed, he was still worried. Naturally, he wouldn't stop Madame Qingluo from going to the Northern Continent to save class monitor. Ziqing, I've already spoken to the teachers. You'll stay in the class of gods and take care of Zhan for the next 3 months. Compared to the Devil Class's courtyard, the class of gods place is much safer. Yi Qingluo looked at Tong Ziqing solemnly. Tong Ziqing leaned against the headboard and moved her pale lips. I will. So recuperate obediently and get well soon so that you can take care of Zhan personally. Yi Qingluo softened her tone. After that, he gave a few more instructions to everyone. Chapter 23-26. Yan Shaoyi originally had a straight face. In the afternoon, Yi Qingluo was unwilling to let her know the class monitor's secret and she was already very angry. Now she heard that Yi Qingluo was preparing to head to the Northern Continent with Jun Qingwu and had no intention to bring her along. Yan Shaoyi was even more furious. At this moment, she heard that Yi Qingluo had a task for her. That straight face instantly revealed a bright smile. Qingluo, just tell me what task you have. I will do my best. Yi Qingluo raised her lips and waved at Yan Shaoyi. Yan Shaoyi ran over in small steps and moved closer to Yi Qingluo. Yiqing Luo leaned close to Yan Xiaoyi's ear and whispered, "I will leave the remaining matters on the director to you and Jinzi to settle." She was planning to settle the matter between the director and Si Yenmu in the next few days. Even if she couldn't do it herself, she had to clear up the following matters. The director had to step down and Si Yenmu's true colors had to be revealed. This heavenly academy. She had no intention to let the dark forces and those with ulterior motives to harm it. Rather than destroying the heavenly academy, it would be better for him to make this academy his own. Yiqing Luo explained the plan in a concise manner. Yan Xiaoyi got more excited as she listened, her eyes sparkling. By the time Yiqing Luo finished, Yan Xiaoyi was already eager to try and patted her chest fiercely. "Leave it to me. I will definitely settle it properly for you." The rest of the devil class students were dumbfounded. After saying goodbye, Yiqing Luo spoke a few more words with her brothers. After that, she went to look for the three masters to discuss some matters. She was heading to the northern continent and her contracted beast-manly cat had to stay by her side. Long Yunzhan was in a coma for 3 months. Tong Ziqing took care of him personally, which meant that there were 4 less students in the special training in the class of gods. This special training opportunity was hard to come by. Yiqing Luo never did a losing business. Naturally, she had to grab another 4 people from the devil class to fill up their empty positions. The masters naturally had no objections. They had long been interested in the devil class. They also wanted to know if there were any other outstanding seedlings in the devil class other than the 11 of them. The matter was settled in this way. That night, Yiqing Luo led Junqing Wu and the 3 masters to apply for leave. The 3 teachers had never left the class of God easily. This was an expert from the upper realm. The dean's entire body was wrapped in white bandages, and he seemed to be severely injured. He struggled to get up from the sickbed to welcome them. Hearing that Yiqing Luo and Junqing Wu wanted to take a leave of 3 months, the director was stunned for a moment, but when he met the smiling eyes of the 3 masters, he relaxed easily. The 3 masters only said that they were interested in Yiqing Luo's ability. They hoped that Yiqing Luo and their class of gods Junqing Wu would be able to complete the experience learning mission that they had set. As for the director, his mind was now focused on how to fight against Si Yenmu, and with the support of the 3 masters from the upper realm. The dean did not dare to suspect anything else. After exchanging some conventional greetings, Yiqing Luo and Junqing Wu received the proof of leaving the academy for 3 months. The next day, Yiqing Luo bade farewell to the devil class students and a few friends, leading Kitty Li and Junqing Wu into the horse carriage. The devil class students looked at the slowly departing horse carriage, their hearts filled with reluctance. But, thinking of what Yiqing Luo said before she left, they became firm in an instant. Chapter 23-27. Until the horse carriage's shadow completely disappeared from everyone's eyes. Yan Xiaoyi then waved her hand and asked everyone to return to devil class. There were some students who weren't willing to leave. Thinking of Yiqing Luo bringing Kitty Li along to search for the Miaogu family, they were extremely worried. The rumors of the Miaogu family, they had more or less heard of it. Although Yiqing Luo's ability was strong, but she totally didn't know anything about Gu poison. Those people from the Miaogu family especially hated outsiders. If those people poison Yiqing Luo, then what should they do? Once she entered the Miaogu family, there was no way to escape unscathed. Since Qing Luo has gone, we must believe in Qing Luo. Even if we are worried, even if we want to follow up to help Qing Luo, then we have to consider our own abilities. If we follow, we will only drag Qing Luo down. Or worse, it will only cause more trouble for Qing Luo. Yan Xiaoyi saw everyone's worried eyes and stopped her footsteps as she crossed her arms and looked calmly at the crowd in devil class. Just like what Qing Luo said, we ourselves are already very strong. But in the past, with Qing Luo around, no matter what we do, we have no fear because Qing Luo will definitely create a miracle for us. Yan Xiaoyi's indifferent tone, however, made the hearts of the youths in devil class tremble. That's right. They were too reliant on Yiqing Luo in the past. As long as Yiqing Luo was around, they had never thought that they would fail. Just like what Yiqing Luo said before she left. They had enough power to protect themselves, to protect those people whom they cared about. But they had always been reliant on Qing Luo. Reliant on Qing Luo, to make all the arrangements for their future. But, if in future this dependence became a habit, once Yiqing Luo was not around, they would become a pile of loose sand. Indeed, this time Yiqing Luo's departure. It was the first step towards independence. To chase up to Yiqing Luo's footsteps, they must work harder to improve themselves. The youngsters' eyes were filled with determination as they clenched their fists. "We understand. We will definitely be independent. When Madame Qing Luo returns, let her see our transformation." West Continent and North Continent were connected, and if they hurried on horseback, they would be able to reach North Continent in 4 to 5 days. As for Yi Qing Luo and the other two, after driving the carriage away from the crowd, they found a quiet place and summoned their respective war pets. Jun Qingwu's battle pet was just like her, a white crane the size of a horse. The grade of the white crane made Yi Qing Luo slightly astonished for a while. That was an immortal crane, a low-level holy beast. Jun Qingwu's identity was obviously not simple. When summoned, the red-crowned crane raised its noble head proudly. Its long neck was surrounded by circles of ocean-blue feathers. When it saw Yi Qing Luo, the red-crowned crane spread its wings and flapped a few times. It seemed to be showing off its pure white feathers and its slender legs. Yi Qing Luo thought that the crane thought she was too beautiful, so it was jealous? Yi Qing Luo's consciousness drifted into her pet space. The two sacred beasts that had consumed the returning Heaven Nether Yuan pill were still in a deep slumber. Yi Qing Luo then summoned Shiju out. Under Yi Qing Luo's nurturing, Shiju's body was extremely sturdy and its entire body was covered in black fur, which was shiny black. The red-crowned crane arrogantly turned its head to the side, showing its disdain for the low-level mirage beast. Chapter 23-28. The red-crowned crane originally wanted to show off its sacred beast's ability in front of the low-leveled mirage beasts. It intentionally spread its wings right from the start, and with a swoosh, it flew out. That speed was as fast as lightning, and in a blink of an eye, it had already disappeared. Yi Qing Luo rubbed Shiju's head. "Be good, don't lower yourself to its level." "Ayo!" Shiju cried out softly as it used its head to rub against Yi Qing Luo's palm. Then it chased after the red-crowned crane. Jun Qingwu crossed her legs as she sat on the red-crowned crane's back. The wind blew her fine black hair. She closed her eyes, and a trace of indistinct loneliness appeared on her cold and elegant face. The red-crowned crane's speed started to slow down. Jun Qingwu opened her eyes as she patted the red-crowned crane's neck. "Little thing, those are my friends. If you cause them to be unable to keep up, I will hold you responsible." Her face was still expressionless. But it wasn't hard to hear the pampering and gentleness in her tone. The red-crowned crane raised its neck as it cried out. Its voice had just ended when a young lady's sweet laughter was heard from behind. "Don't worry, we won't lose them. My Shiju's greatest strength is its speed." Jun Qingwu's hand, which was caressing the red-crowned crane's neck, froze. She swiftly turned her head back. She saw Yi Qing Luo and Kitty Li, who were riding on the black leopard, right behind her. Yi Qing Luo looked at her smilingly. "In my heart, student Jun Qingwu is also my friend. Since we have already acknowledged each other as friends, then in future, I will call you Little Qingwu. You can also call me Little Qing Luo." Who is your friend?" Jun Qingwu's expression turned embarrassed as she had not expected her words earlier to be heard clearly by Yi Qing Luo. She gave a cold harumph as she turned her head away. Shiju increased its speed as it traveled alongside the red-crowned crane. Yi Qing Luo turned her head around as she smiled at Jun Qingwu's embarrassed face. "Little Qingwu, don't be shy. I know that you have long been conquered by my charm, otherwise Little Qingwu would not have told me the sacred beast pearl's whereabouts, nor would she have told me about the other method of using the sacred beast pearl, nor would she have told me about the Miao Gu family, nor would she have personally accompanied me to the northern continent." These few days of interaction. Yi Qing Luo was very clear about this. Jun Qingwu was at Sundra, cold on the outside but warm on the inside. Of course, this degree of heat was only possible if she truly placed Jun Qingwu in her heart. Only then would she be able to feel Jun Qingwu's heat. "What are you talking about?" Jun Qingwu's face became more and more embarrassed, and her cheeks turned red. "I only helped you because I received benefits from Dizun. Don't flatter yourself." Yi Qing Luo's smile remained unchanged. "Although I've only interacted with Xiao Qingwu for a few days, but I also know that if Xiao Qingwu hates me and isn't willing to help me, no matter how Xian tempts you, you will not help me." "I didn't say I hated you." Jun Qingwu felt her cheeks burning as she turned her head to one side, not willing to let Yi Qing Luo see her embarrassment. "But it doesn't mean that I like you." Yi Qing Luo giggled a few times but didn't continue to force her. His teasing was done in moderation. Otherwise, if Xiao Qingwu flew into a rage out of humiliation and abandoned her and Kitty Cat, then the losses would outweigh the gains. The two beasts and three people only spent less than 3 days and they had already reached the northern continent's main city, indescribable Joy City. In order to avoid trouble, Yi Qing Luo and Jun Qingwu specially changed their appearances before they reached. Chapter 23-29. Yi Qing Luo and Jun Qingwu produced the proof of experience with the principal's stamp to prove that they were students of Heavenly Academy and successfully entered the city. Let's go to the inn to rest first and then find out where the Miao Gu family is. Jun Qingwu looked at the crowded streets as her brows creased in displeasure. Yi Qing Luo looked at Shiju who was standing on her shoulder. It had transformed into a palm-sized form and looked like a black kitten. At this moment, it was looking around with its big round eyes, filled with curiosity. Shiju was still a young magical beast and towards new and unfamiliar places, it had a childlike curiosity. So Yi Qing Luo didn't keep this little thing into the pet space and let it follow by her side to look at the outside world. You go to the inn first, I'll bring Shiju around. Yi Qing Luo tugged Shiju's swaying black tail and turned to look at Kitty Li. Kitty wants to come along? Kitty Li will go wherever sister goes. Kitty Li blinked her bright eyes as she hugged Yi Qing Luo's arm. Yi Qing Luo smiled as she rubbed Kitty Li's head and straightened the headscarf which covered her ears. Little Qingwu, go to the inn to book a room first. Jun Qingwu frowned as she looked at the bustling crowd in disgust. If it wasn't for the fact that there were so many people, she really wanted to fly directly to the inn. She took a deep breath, avoided the crowd and walked in the direction of the inn. Seeing Jun Qingwu's figure moving swiftly in the crowd, Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but laughed softly. She held Kitty Li's little hand as she squeezed into the crowd. Qinghua City was the main city of the North Continent and naturally was the most bustling city. There were all sorts of things which had never been seen before in the West Continent. Shiju looked around excitedly. Suddenly, Shiju's nose twitched as it called out softly beside Yi Qing Luo's ear. Yi Qing Luo followed Shiju's gaze. Not far away there was a vendor selling candied fruits. Junior Leopard also wanted to eat candied fruits? Unable to stand Shiju's sparkling eyes, Yi Qing Luo took out a bag of coins from the profound phoenix ring and walked towards the vendor. Before she got near, suddenly, the surrounding people suddenly dispersed as they squeezed into the two sides of the street. In just a short while, the crowded street became empty. Before Yi Qing Luo could react, a woman who was rushing towards the side of the street grabbed her arm. Young lady, quickly give way. If you continue to block the way, you won't be able to leave. Suddenly, a furious roar came from the front. Why is there someone there? Who dared to block the young prince's way? Drag him away. Unbeknownst to them, a huge group of guards had appeared in front of them. At the very front were two burly men clad in armor. Each of them had a wooden stick in their hands, and they would hit the stall next to them from time to time. Many of the stalls were smashed, and their items were scattered all over the ground. The surrounding people crowded on the side of the street, trembling, but no one dared to stop them. Before Yi Qing Luo could react, the woman who was dragging her earlier knelt down on the ground with a plop. Young Duke, please spare our lives. These two ladies have just entered the city, they don't know the rules here. The woman kowtowed hard as she tugged at Yi Qing Luo's skirt. Young lady, quickly kneel down and beg for mercy. Yi Qing Luo looked at the woman beside her whose forehead was bleeding from kowtowing. She was still begging for mercy for her and Kitty Li. Yi Qing Luo frowned and was just about to help the woman up. Chapter 23-30. A group of guards also rushed over in a threatening manner. Just as the burly man's leg was about to land on the woman, the burly man suddenly cried out miserably. Then his body, which was as heavy as a mountain, fell backward. The burly man fell flat on his face, his buttocks almost blossomed. The group of guards were stunned as they scrambled to help the burly man up. Oh! Who dared to play dirty with me? The burly man covered his buttocks in pain as he stood up with the help of a few guards. His eyes revealed an ominous glint as he stared fiercely at the surroundings. The commoners on both sides of the street shivered as they shrank back. The burly man's ferocious gaze swept past the commoners. Finally, he looked at the woman who was kneeling on the ground in a daze. Following that, his gaze looked towards the two cold-looking little beauties who were standing beside the woman. For a moment, anger surged up his heart. The burly man rushed forward and stretched out his hand towards the woman. You slut, how dare you block little prince's way and make me fall, see if I don't beat you to death. As he stretched out his hand, he raised his leg and kicked towards Yi Qing Luo and Kitty Li. The woman was so scared that her body went soft. On seeing the burly man hitting the lady beside him, she suddenly pounced forward. She hugged the burly man's leg tightly. "Steward Fan, you're a magnanimous person, I'll kowtow to you, kowtow to you. These two young ladies are really the first time they entered the city and don't know the rules. I will teach them well, please. Please don't be calculative with them." The strength of the burly man who was addressed as Steward Fan was not something that a woman could control. Lin Mingya's hug had perfectly withstood the force of Steward Fan's kick. The woman spat out a mouthful of blood. Steward Fan's dark-colored luxurious robe was sprinkled with spots of red blood. Steward Fan's expression instantly turned black as his eyes widened even more. With a fierce look, he bent down and grabbed the back of the woman's collar. "How dare you dirty my clothes? Even if I sell you to a brothel, selling your body every day, selling your entire life, you still won't be able to compensate me for this piece of clothes. Slut." He raised his hand and threw a slap towards the woman's face. Bam! There was another loud noise. The burly man who was carrying the woman was once again sent flying backwards. That huge and sturdy body smashed heavily into the ground, creating a huge crater. Stones flew everywhere, and the clothes of the surrounding guards were torn by the stones. It was obvious how much force Steward Fan had suffered when he was sent flying. Anger burned in Steward Fan's chest. Steward Fan pressed his stomach in disbelief. He struggled to get up. Just as he moved, he suddenly felt a fishy taste in his throat. Pfft. He spat out a large mouthful of blood. At that moment, General Manager Fan also saw it. The woman that she had lifted up was now being supported by two delicate and weak-looking beauties. The red-clothed girl lowered her head and softly comforted the woman. Her fine bangs covered half of her face. The hazy concealment actually had a kind of beauty to it. The other black-clothed young woman had a smile on her face as she hugged the woman's arm and sweetly said something. The woman looked a little worried. She whispered a few words but was stopped by the two beauties. Seeing this, if General Manager Fan still did not understand, he would be a fool. Just now he was sent flying. This time he was sent flying again, and it was all because of those two little beauties. Chapter 23:31. Steward Fan's face was malevolent as he bellowed, "Detain the three of them. Bring them back to the palace." Yes. The guards received the order and walked towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. The woman's hand trembled slightly as she tugged Yi Qing Luo and pushed her back forcefully. "Young lady, stop joking around. You're outsiders and don't know how scary little Lord Qin Yu is. Quickly leave. I'm here." Saying that, the woman flung Yi Qing Luo aside and wanted to pounce towards those guards. Apparently she wanted to use her physical body to block those guards. Yi Qing Luo raised her hand and grabbed the woman's shoulder as she pulled her behind her. The woman was stunned as she started to panic. Yi Qing Luo didn't turn back as her gaze swept past the five guards who were walking over as her lips curled into a faint arc. "How much time can you delay even if you rush up? In the end we will all die here." The woman struggling stopped. "Kitty, protect her." Yi Qing Luo let go of the woman. Kitty Li immediately hugged the woman's arm as she pulled her back a few steps. The woman was about to open her mouth to say something. But the scene in front of her made her dumbstruck. Only to see. The five guards who just came up had no time to make a move on Yi Qing Luo. One or two of them unknowingly flew out and fell onto the ground. Then holding onto their waist or hugging their abdomen, they rolled on the ground in pain. The other guards were all frightened by this strange scene. Steward Fan was so shocked that he held onto his chest as the pain from Yi Qing Luo's kick seemed to attack his heart again. He took a few steps back as he shouted in a stutter, "Quick! Go get more people. Capture these few people." The guards took a look at their brothers who were rolling on the ground. They were hesitant as they didn't dare to move forward. Steward Fan was getting more and more furious as he endured the pain in his abdomen as he lifted his leg and kicked the guards. "But whoever dares to be disobedient, I will send all of you to the Elation Spring." Mentioning the Elation Spring, the faces of the guards were filled with extreme fear. One by one they swarmed towards Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes slightly. His long and narrow eyebrows formed a mocking cold arc. "Elation Spring? What is that place? It seemed very scary." These guards were obviously afraid of her. However, he still charged forward fearlessly. Moreover, it was as if he was afraid that he would be sent to the Qinyu Spring if he was a step late. Looking at the 20 or so guards pouncing on him like a swarm of bees, the ridicule in Yi Qing Luo's eyes intensified. The profound qi in his body suddenly surged out. The 20 guards were sent flying like flowers scattered by a celestial maiden. Yi Qing Luo clapped her hands, crossed her arms over her chest and smiled in a relaxed manner. I only found out now that the people of the Northern Waves continent treat guests from other continents in this way. It has really broadened my horizons. The expressions of the commoners on the street changed. They trembled and tried to explain. But when he saw the group of guards lying on the ground, he felt a chill run down his spine. Then he looked at the fiendish steward Fan, who was about to go crazy from anger. Still none of them dared to speak. At this moment, the carriage that the guards had been protecting behind them was slowly lowered to the ground. A bam sound was heard. Steward Fan's fiendish expression at this moment turned humble and fawning. He speedily turned around and walked towards the side of the carriage as he spoke respectfully. "Little Prince, sorry for disturbing your mood. I will chase these troublemakers away right now." The surroundings of the carriage were draped with dark-colored muslin curtains. A hand was placed on the muslin curtains as it slowly lifted. Chapter 23:32. His voice also trembled slightly. Little Prince, I... A slap landed on Steward Fan's face. Ouch. Steward Fan screamed and covered his face, looking like a punching bag. He lowered his voice and bowed his back. Where was the arrogance and despotic attitude from before? The gauze curtain was completely lifted. A bright yellow figure walked down from the carriage. The one who came down was a young man. Although he was called a young man, in fact, other than his height and age, he really couldn't be considered as young. The young man looked to be about 12 or 13 years old. His height, Yiqing Luo estimated, shouldn't even reach her ears. Especially, the young man was chubby, almost as fat as a ball. He looked even shorter. This degree of being as fat as a ball was absolutely comparable to Fatty Master. Yiqing Luo cast a sympathetic gaze towards the four bearers who were carrying the carriage. To be able to carry this little prince, they were also talents. Little Prince was dressed in a bright yellow brocade robe. His face was full of fat and his facial features couldn't be seen clearly. His eyes were small, leaving only two slits. The only thing that could be seen was the arrogance on Little Prince's face. Everyone could see that. This little prince was held in the palm of someone's hand, coaxed and pampered as he grew up. Looking at the little prince in front of her, Yiqing Luo smiled coldly. Just as she was about to turn and leave, suddenly he felt a burning sensation in his chest. It was this feeling again. In the class of gods when she stopped the crazy Long Yunjian? The profound heart jade had such a situation. At that time, the burning sensation from the profound heart jade almost caused her to be injured under Long Yunjian's sword. Why did this feeling come again? Yiqing Luo's slender brows tightened as her breathing slightly panted. So it's two little beauties. The young prince pretended to be an adult. His eyes were narrowed into slits, and it was obvious that he had evil intentions. Yiqing Luo's eyes flickered slightly. Her gaze fell on the young prince's bloated body. Little Prince's chest was flashing a ball of blue light. Blue-grade profound heart jade. From the looks of it, this young prince was completely a good-for-nothing. He actually possessed an extremely high-quality blue-grade profound heart jade. No wonder her profound jade heart would send out such a notification. Last time in the class of gods, the profound heart jade had also reminded her that there was something wrong with Long Yunjian's heart. At that time, she thought that he was reminding her that Long Yunjian's body contained the mysterious yin qi. Actually, he was reminding her of the gu poison in Long Yunjian's body. Her divine phoenix profound heart jade was indeed very different from other profound practitioners' profound heart jades. If she cultivated properly when her strength increased, he would definitely be able to use the divine phoenix profound heart jade to see more things. For example, the gu poison in Long Yunjian's body. Yiqing Luo's breathing smoothed out, once again suppressing the scorching feeling brought about by the profound jade heart. Coincidentally, Little Prince had already walked up with a wretched smile on his face. His squinted eyes were glued onto Yiqing Luo's beautiful body. "This prince likes hot chili peppers like you. Little beauty, obediently follow this prince back to the residence and let this prince dote on you. This prince will spare you." Saying that, Little Prince's plump body had already pounced towards Yiqing Luo. Hey, children nowadays at such a young age already knew how to tease young ladies? This skilled teasing technique, just how many ladies had he harmed? Yiqing Luo's eyes turned slightly cold as her body shifted slightly to the left. Little Prince pounced on empty air. His entire body staggered and fell forward. Chapter 23:33. A loud, heavy sound reverberated. Yiqing Luo could feel the ground beneath her feet shook 3 times. Little Lord's 4 limbs were spread out as he faced the ground and fell heavily. Sounds of cold air being sucked in were heard from the surroundings. Plop. Plop. A series of voices rang out. The commoners and the guards on the side of the street all knelt on the ground, trembling in fear. They didn't even dare to lift their heads. The woman who was being supported by Kitty Lee was also frightened to the point that her body went soft. Kitty Lee couldn't hold on and both of them fell to the ground. The woman looked at Little Lord who was sprawled on the ground with a frightened look, her fingers trembling. "Miss? Do you know? Who did you hurt?" Yiqing Luo lowered her eyes as she shot a disdainful glance at Little Lord and scoffed lightly. "I didn't do anything, how could I hurt him?" The woman's breathing was trembling and her voice was also trembling. "He is the only son of the Battle King General, the only legitimate son of the Yuan family, the one and only genius child prodigy in Qinghua City. Yuan Kuang, Little Lord Yuan." Child prodigy? Yiqing Luo wasn't interested in the long introduction in front, but these 2 words made her raise her eyebrows. She lifted her leg and kicked Little Lord's fat butt. "That's it? Also a child prodigy? That's too insulting to the word child prodigy." This kind of unreasonable behavior made the woman even more terrified. How could the woman withstand such stimulation as her eyes rolled back and she fainted? You little slut. You dare to do this to Little Lord? Little Lord." Steward Fan almost fainted. He bared his teeth in anger as his murderous aura filled the air. He couldn't wait to rush up and tear Yiqing Luo into pieces. But thinking of Yiqing Luo's strength alone, under the circumstances where everyone couldn't understand, she defeated over 20 guards. How would Steward Fan dare to take his own life as a joke? He was so angry that he stomped his feet and scolded Yiqing Luo, while looking nervously at Little Lord who was sprawled on the ground motionless. The other guards came to their senses. One by one, their hearts stopped as they looked at Little Lord nervously. Their Little Lord, why was he lying on the ground for such a long time without moving? Could it be? Had he fallen to his death? Impossible. Their little prince was the #1 prodigy in joyous Qin City. Don't be fooled by the little prince's domineering attitude. His strength definitely gave him the capital to be arrogant. How could someone as powerful as the young prince fall to his death so easily? But why didn't the little prince get up from the ground? If something really happened to the young prince, the guards accompanying them would definitely be executed by the War King's mansion. Thinking of this consequence, no matter how terrified the guards were towards Yiqing Luo, they still walked over one by one. Young prince. The guards moved next to Yuan Kuang. They were even cautiously looking at Yiqing Luo who was just a few steps away. One of the guards extended his trembling hand towards Yuan Kuang. The other guard struggled to lift Yuan Kuang up from the ground. The guard's hand had just touched Yuan Kuang's nose. Suddenly, the guard let out a blood-curdling scream. There was a cracking sound. The guard was thrown out of the room. Fresh blood spilled all over the ground. Yuan Kuang, who was being supported by the guards, raised his head at some point. He was steadied and his feet stood on the ground. In front of him was a huge deep pit. The ground was cracked into densely packed cracks. In his hand there was a bloody palm. Chapter 23:34. The guards hurriedly tidied up the mess. Yuan Kuang cut a sorry figure, but he was tidied up neatly. He tugged at his broken hand, which was dripping with blood, and let the blood dye his hand red. His expression was sinister as he stared at Yiqing Luo viciously. This gaze made Yiqing Luo raise her slender brows. At such a young age he actually had such a strong killing intent. From this, it could be seen that many people had died in his hands. The young Duke of the War King's mansion. A child prodigy who possessed a blue-grade profound heart jade. He was so arrogant and willful, and he was so vicious that he would beat anyone who stood in his way. She was really a troublemaker. He had only just arrived at the Northern Wave continent, yet he was already able to provoke such a powerful figure. "Sister." Kitty Lee called out to Yiqing Luo softly, "Do you need Kitty Lee's help? You just need to take care of that woman, leave the rest to me." Yiqing Luo smiled sweetly, her voice gentle. When she looked at Kitty Lee, her eyes slightly curved. She looked extremely sweet. Yuan Kuang's malicious gaze was filled with dense murderous intent as he stared at Yiqing Luo. This was the first time he had suffered such humiliation since he was born. But looking at Yiqing Luo's smiling face, Yuan Kuang's evil aura had somehow dissipated quite a bit. To be honest, the red-clothed woman's appearance could not be considered to be extremely beautiful, nor was there anything breathtaking about her. All in all, he was pleasing to the eye. But her unattainable attitude as if nothing mattered to her. It really made him, the little prince who had never been wronged or frustrated, extremely itchy. There was a kind of restless feeling in his heart. He wanted to conquer this woman in front of him. Yuan Kuang's eyes were gradually filled with fiery evil thoughts. This woman had made him so embarrassed in front of everyone. Wouldn't killing her be letting her off too easily? Or completely destroy her so-called unattainable status? Destroy her unsullied by the mud? Fuck her. Torture her. This was the best punishment for her. Steward Fan, who was standing to the side, had taken care of the young prince for 8 years. How could he not know what the young prince was thinking? Just now, when the young prince fell to the ground, he didn't dare to help him up. After returning to the manor, if the young prince were to pursue the matter, he could not absolve himself from the blame. The young prince's temperament, he understood. Although the young prince was young, his methods were unparalleled. Steward Fan clenched his fists tightly as his murderous eyes stared at Yiqing Luo. He thought about the punishment he might receive from the young prince when he returned to the manor. Chief Steward Fan resolutely chose. He had to take the initiative to capture that little slut for the little prince to show his loyalty. Little bitch. The fact that Xiao Wangye took a liking to you is your good fortune from your previous life. How dare you not know what's good for you? Must you suffer a little before you learn to be obedient? Steward Fan roared angrily, and a thick profound chi suddenly burst out from his body. The profound energy surged, like thousands of layers of huge waves, charging straight towards Yiqing Luo's face. Boom boom boom. A loud explosion resounded throughout the entire Joy City. But in an instant, it had completely covered Yiqing Luo's petite figure. The people huddled in the corner of the street screamed in fear. That little girl, it was actually covered by Steward Fan's Shen energy. That little girl, how would there be any chance of survival? Steward Fan looked at the rumbling Shen wave in front of him. The surrounding stalls and shops were all crushed to pieces. He laughed complacently. A little girl was indeed a little girl. Chapter 23:35. He didn't want to give that little bitch a chance to play tricks. What ability did that little bitch have to win against him? Pah! A slap landed on Steward Fan's head. Steward Fan's laughter stopped abruptly. Idiot! When did I say that I wanted that little bitch's life? Yuan Kuang gritted his teeth and stared at Steward Fan viciously. The fat on his face trembled. Little prince, listen to me. Chief Steward Fan's aura instantly retracted, and he bowed towards Yuan Kuang with a flattering smile. This lowly one didn't use too much profound energy. At most she won't be able to move. Let's carry her back and let the little duke personally teach Zhou Jiao. It'll definitely be a different experience. Steward Fan's last sentence had a profound meaning. Yuan Kuang's eyes suddenly lit up. He licked his lips with his scarlet tongue. That's more like it. Go and carry that little bitch back. I can't wait to taste her. Steward Fan smiled obsequiously. Then he hurriedly swaggered in the direction where the profound chi had enveloped. The whole street had been turned into a mess. The ground was full of gravel and cracks spread out like a spider web. Steward Fan walked on the gravel, making a crunching sound. The people knelt on the ground, not daring to raise their heads. They sighed silently in their hearts. Another woman had suffered a calamity. Steward Fan stepped into the Shen Qi. Thick waves of Qi were still rolling and rolling. Steward Fan's figure was faintly discernible in the Qi waves. Bang! Suddenly there was a loud sound of collision. The gravel on the ground was suddenly blown up by a sharp whirlwind. It was dozens of feet high. The strong wind waves lingered into a vortex. The Qi waves rushed toward them from all directions. Ah! A blood-curdling scream came from the vortex. The people's hearts trembled. This voice, it was Steward Fan's voice. This scream also made Yuan Kuang's face turn serious. He glanced at the air billows that were swept up by the whirlpool to a height of dozens of feet, completely concealing the scene inside. Yuan Kuang's expression changed abruptly. In a split second, dark clouds covered his face. Damn it! That little bitch! Yuan Kuang's figure blurred. His fat body immediately disappeared in front of everyone. He charged towards the layers of whirlpools. However, as soon as Yuan Kuang approached, something seemed to be flying towards him. Yuan Kuang's face darkened. With a wave of his hand he sent that thing flying. Bang! That thing flew out of the vortex and rolled on the ground. The surrounding people sucked in a breath of cold air. Wasn't the thing that was thrown out? Steward Fan covered in blood? At that moment, Steward Fan was lying limply on the ground, motionless. His face was covered in blood, making his ferocious face look even more ferocious. Yuan Kuang stared in disbelief at the thing he had just sent flying. Looking at Steward Fan's wretched appearance. The cold light in his eyes kept darting about. The blood on Steward Fan's face was seeping out from his eyes. That little bitch dug out Steward Fan's eyes. Steward Fan's limbs were bent at an extremely strange angle. Obviously, the meridians in his limbs were cut. And Steward Fan's lower body was also dripping with blood. Chapter 23:36. Oh, didn't you want to teach me this week? Come on, be pretentious. Anyway, I have a lot of time. A clear laughter was heard from that profound chi. The young lady's slender and elegant figure slowly revealed itself. The red dress was like a blazing sun, setting off the young lady's not considered stunning but pretty face, extremely enchanting. The surrounding commoners saw this scene. In their hearts, they were not only shocked by this cruel and bloody scene. The shock towards Yiqing Luo. Everyone's breathing had unconsciously slowed down and lightened up. No one dared to make any sound. This lady had too much guts. She actually crippled Little Duke's man. She actually dared to provoke Little Duke. You. Yuan Kuang's eyes widened, filled with disbelief and anger. He pointed at Yiqing Luo. The fats on his body kept trembling. Yiqing Luo crippled Steward Fan's actions. He was so shocked that he didn't know what to say. Shock, aghast, uncontrollable anger, but there was also a faint trace of excitement. Such a complicated emotion. Yuan Kuang himself couldn't understand it. Yiqing Luo was like a high and mighty queen, step by step, walking towards Yuan Kuang in a majestic manner. Her long and narrow eyes pulled out a cold arc of contempt. Her lips curled upwards as she sneered, so the child prodigy Little Duke who has been pampered by thousands is followed by this kind of trash. Just this bit of ability and you dare to rob a good girl on the streets? Yuan Kuang was still in a daze. He was forced to take a few steps back by Yiqing Luo's imposing manner. His fat body made a thud-thud sound as he stepped on the ground. He stared at the beautiful face in front of him, as his throat unconsciously made a swallowing sound. His narrow eyes were filled with evil thoughts. In an instant he had completely forgotten about the vicious things that Yiqing Luo had done earlier. Yiqing Luo naturally understood Yuan Kuang's gaze. She sneered. This so-called child prodigy Little Duke was really a spoiled child. Lawless, as if there would be someone to hold up the sky for him even if it collapsed. That Steward Fan dared to be so arrogant. He must have been by Yuan Kuang's side for at least 5 years. Steward Fan was crippled by her. Not only was Yuan Kuang not angry, he even had evil thoughts towards her. She had really been spoiled to the point where she had become a heartless person. Yuan Kuang's chubby face suddenly broke into a smile. He thought of himself as elegant, distinguished, and refined. He opened his mouth and was about to say something. Suddenly, a clamor came from not far away. In this silent scene it was extremely clear. Following that, a group of about 20 to 30 people walked over from the front. Before the person arrived, a clear and melodious voice first came over. Yuan Kuang, I heard that you've encountered some difficulties. Ah. There's something that you, Yuan Kuang, can't handle? I knew it. What kind of *T prodigy is that? You gave yourself that title. When he heard the voice coming, Yuan Kuang's expression darkened. His fat face, which was filled with evil thoughts, was overcast. Yiqing Luo noticed the change in Yuan Kuang's expression as she raised her eyebrows in interest. There was actually someone who could make the lawless Little Duke reveal this kind of expression in this world? This Little Duke, wasn't he the only one who reigned supreme? Just as she was thinking, those 20 to 30 people had already arrived in a grandiose manner. Chapter 23:37. It was a little girl about the same age as Yuan Kuang. She was wearing a luxurious long dress of hundreds of birds. The colorful dress made the little girl look full of vigor. However, his face was filled with arrogance and willfulness. Even the vigor that a person of his age should have was somewhat overshadowed. Xia Lingling. What are you doing here? Yuan Kuang's face was filled with impatience. The girl called Xia Lingling proudly raised her chin and said, The servant said that you met someone who wants to teach you a lesson. I'm here to see you make a fool of yourself. Yuan Kuang's face was sinister as he glared at the people around him. Which blind guy had actually spread this matter out? Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. Yuan Kuang's gaze. After living in Joy City for so many years, how could they not know Yuan Kuang wanted to kill everyone present who had seen this scene today? Xia Lingling didn't realize that her words had triggered Yuan Kuang's desire to massacre the entire street. Even if she sensed it, she would not say anything. In any case, lowly commoners. So what if they were killed? It didn't matter. Xia Lingling smiled as she looked at Steward Fan, who was covered in blood behind Yuan Kuang. Her eyes suddenly lit up. She trotted forward. After seeing Steward Fan's miserable state, she did not have the frightened expression that a young girl should have. Instead, he licked his lips excitedly. Haha, Yuan Kuang, someone actually killed your chief steward in front of you? This is too inconceivable. She turned around and looked around. Who is it? Who is it? Who is it that dares to not give face to the young prince? Let this princess have a look. I must praise that person. Although that was the case, but Yi Qing Luo, who was standing not too far away from Xia Lingling, he could clearly sense the murderous intent in Xia Lingling's eyes as she searched the surroundings. Looks like Xia Lingling wanted to praise that person, but it was a lie. His real intention was to kill that person. This Xia Lingling didn't hate Yuan Kuang as much as she seemed on the surface. What did he mean by coming to see Yuan Kuang make a fool of himself? With such a large group of people. No matter how you looked at it, it looked like they were here to cheer for Yuan Kuang. Suddenly Xia Lingling's cold and arrogant voice sounded in his ears. Yi Qing Luo's gaze moved slightly as she looked at Xia Lingling. Only then did she realize that all the guards' gazes were focused on her. Yuan Kuang's guards even pointed at her with their fingers. So it's you who dares to challenge Yuan Kuang? You even killed General Manager Fan? Xia Lingling raised her head and asked arrogantly. Xia Lingling had only reached Yi Qing Luo's shoulder. He was still a child. In terms of imposing manner, Yi Qing Luo was dwarfed by a huge chunk. Xia Lingling stood in front of Yi Qing Luo, looking like a little kid who couldn't get any sweets to eat. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes slightly as she looked at the young lady who was putting on an act with a smile which didn't look like a smile as she laughed softly. Firstly, I don't have the leisure to pick a fight with a wimpy kid, my time is very precious. Second, I didn't kill Chief Steward Fan. I only crippled him in self-defense. In the end, she added with a smile, don't worry, I won't die. Xia Lingling did not expect that this red-dressed girl, who looked to be at most 1 or 2 years older than her, would speak so rudely. Xia Lingling, who had never been wronged, was so angry that her eyes turned red. Chapter 23:38. Xia Lingling's furious howl. And it finally made the surrounding people regain their senses. They looked at Yi Qing Luo in shock. This young lady not only challenged Little Prince, but also disrespected Little Region Princess. These two people, any one of them was not someone a young lady like her could afford to offend. Outsiders didn't even bother to inquire about the rules of Qinghua City. This time round, not only did she lose her life, she even implicated them. The commoners thought of Yuan Kuang's gaze earlier. Their hearts felt goosebumps. Their hearts started to resent Yi Qing Luo for not knowing what was good for her. But, the resentment in the commoners' hearts. Yi Qing Luo didn't know. Nor was she interested to know about such things. Her gaze was calm and her smile was faint. She bent over slightly and leaned over, looking down at Xia Lingling. I'm not interested who you are. I don't know if I will die now, but I can confirm that you will definitely die in front of me. Icy cold words, one word at a time, spat out from Yi Qing Luo's lips. Like being sealed in ice, the ridiculing gaze made Xia Lingling tremble as she cried out in fright and retreated a few steps back. Xia Lingling was wearing a thick bird dress. When she stumbled back, her feet stepped on the hem of her dress. A loud thump was heard. Xia Lingling fell heavily onto the ground and rolled into a ball. The serving maids were terrified as they hurriedly went forward and helped Xia Lingling up. Xia Lingling's fall was extremely heavy. Her meticulously made-up hair was messed up from the impact. Her face was stained with gravel and dust. And the feathers of the 100 Birds costume. It looked comical and ridiculous. The maids hurriedly wiped the dust off her face and tidied up her messy hair. Xia Lingling was so angry that her entire body was trembling. Looking at the surrounding people, she felt that they were all laughing at her. She, Xia Lingling, the current monarch's most doted Little Region Princess, the northern continent's overbearing and unscrupulous Little Region Princess, who dared to laugh at her, who dared to humiliate her. Xia Lingling stared fiercely at Yi Qing Luo. That little slut who caused her to embarrass herself, actually acted as though nothing had happened and stood there quietly, looking at her smilingly. Was he laughing at her? Laughing at her? Xia Lingling screamed, "Ah!" She pointed at Yiqing Luo as she screamed madly, "Kill her! Kill this little bitch for me!" The guards that Xia Lingling brought along immediately rushed towards Yiqing Luo. Before he could make a move, he heard an angry shout, "Stop!" The guards were startled, and when they turned their heads, they saw Yuan Kuang walking over with a body full of fat. "This is the woman this prince has taken a fancy to, who dares to touch her." Xia Lingling looked at Yuan Kuang in disbelief. "Are you crazy?" Yuan Kuang's eyes were filled with excitement as he stared at Yiqing Luo in a daze. His eyeballs couldn't wait to be glued onto her. He smiled wretchedly. This prince is very clear-headed. It's only interesting to conquer this kind of spicy little chili. This prince likes this kind of style. She killed Steward Fan. A glint of jealousy flashed past Xia Lingling's eyes as she stared at Yiqing Luo resentfully. Moreover, she's so ugly, totally incomparable to those women in your residence. If this little beauty is happy, then so be it. Yuan Kuang totally disregarded Xia Lingling's expression. This prince is used to eating delicacies, and now I like this kind of delicate-looking woman. Chapter 2339. Yuan Kuang couldn't be bothered with Xia Lingling. He looked at Yiqing Luo and laughed arrogantly. "Little beauty, other than this duke, no one can protect you now. If you don't want to die, follow this duke back to the residence now. This prince will not fuss over your rude behavior today." A quick-witted guard behind Yuan Kuang hurriedly chimed in. "Miss, I'm afraid you don't know, but the young princess has a noble status. In the entire Northern Wave continent, her words are absolute. She can do whatever she wants. If this matter reaches the ears of the sovereign, not only will you be unable to leave the Northern Wave continent, your family will also suffer the punishment of the sovereign of the Northern Wave continent." The guard praised Xia Lingling to the heavens. Xia Lingling's face was filled with anger. Under the flattery of the guard, a proud smile gradually appeared on his face. She harumphed heavily at Yiqing Luo. It seemed that she was going to tell the imperial uncle about this. She wanted her uncle to kill this little bitch. Let the royal family execute this little slut's 9 generations. The guard sized up Yiqing Luo's expression and continued, "But as long as you follow our little prince, with his protection, little region princess will definitely not pursue this matter." Hearing this, Xia Lingling's proud expression froze. She widened her eyes and opened her mouth to say that she would definitely pursue this matter to the end. But before he could speak, he was stopped by Yuan Kuang's gaze. Xia Lingling felt wronged. She fiercely stomped her feet, bit her lips, and said resentfully, "Yuan Kuang, you helped that bitch bully me. I won't talk to you anymore." She angrily pushed away the maidservant who was supporting her and rushed towards her carriage. When he passed by Yuan Kuang, he slammed into Yuan Kuang. However, Yuan Kuang was such a sturdy lump. Xia Lingling crashed into Yuan Kuang, but she couldn't move him at all. Instead, he was sent flying. Xia Lingling was so angry that she crawled up from the ground and rushed to her carriage. "Go, go, go. I don't want to see him again." The maidservants hurriedly followed and stood by the side of the carriage to serve. A group of people quickly left the street. It was like a farce. He left like a farce. Yiqing Luo had her arms crossed in front of her chest from start to finish, as though she was watching a show, observing the entire process. As soon as Xia Lingling left, Yuan Kuang stuck to her. "Little beauty, this prince helped you get rid of a troublemaker. Shouldn't you repay this prince?" Yiqing Luo's lips curled into an enchanting smile. Her eyes were mixed with a gloomy luster. "Little Duke, are you sure you want me to repay you?" Yuan Kuang's heart was stirred by Yiqing Luo's smile. He immediately laughed foolishly. "Little beauty, could it be that you want to repay me with your body? If you devote yourself to me, although you're a bit older, but this prince doesn't mind." As he spoke, his fat body was already trembling as he pounced on him. Yiqing Luo smiled even more enchantingly. A cold light flickered in her charming eyes. The moment Yuan Kuang pounced forward, a red fan was pressed against Yuan Kuang's chest. "Young prince." Yiqing Luo gave a low laugh. Her pair of charming eyes seemed to be able to hook people's souls. Yuan Kuang almost went into a daze. Especially in that pair of charming eyes, there was a faint cold glint, which simply made the blood in his heart boil, clamoring to conquer her. Yuan Kuang didn't notice the abnormality at this time. but the crowd were so shocked that they sucked in a mouthful of cold air. One must know that the degree of Yuan Kuang's obesity could no longer be expressed with numbers. Such a big lump of meat. Chapter 2340. Little beauty. This prince will definitely dote on you. Yuan Kuang grinned sinisterly as he stretched out his hand to grab that red fan and swiftly caught Yiqing Luo's hand. But his hand was just about to touch Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo had already avoided his touch. Along with that red fan, it also left Yuan Kuang's chest. Yuan Kuang, who had lost his support, his fat body was unstable as he fell heavily onto the ground. Just like before, his four limbs were wide open, facing the ground. The crowd drew in a cold breath again. They really couldn't understand how Yiqing Luo managed to do it time and time again, to make the legendary little marquis to be in such a sorry state. Little Duke, don't worry later, I will definitely let you suffer enough. Yiqing Luo stepped on Yuan Kuang's back as she bent down, smiling at that lump of meat beneath her feet. Yuan Kuang struggled for a few times, but couldn't break free from Yiqing Luo's strength. He turned his face sideways, the fat on his face pressed against the ground, looking extremely oily. A pair of slender eyes was staring at Yiqing Luo excitedly. Yiqing Luo? Damn, this guy, could he be a masochist? The deeper the torture, the heavier the torture, the more excited he got? This was an illness. It had to be cured. Sister, this woman's breathing seems to be getting heavier. Kitty Lee's voice suddenly came from behind. Yiqing Luo was stunned as she immediately turned her head over. She saw the woman who had pleaded for them earlier, lying in Kitty Lee's arms, panting heavily, as though she would be out of breath any time. Yiqing Luo flicked her finger, speedily took out a bottle of pills from the profound phoenix ring and threw it to Kitty Lee. Feed her one. Following that, she retracted her gaze and increased the strength on her feet. She looked down at Yuan Kuang's oily fat face, sarcastically curled her lips and said word by word, "Just a wimpy kid, you want to learn how to tease a young lady? You fancy me, but I don't fancy a wimpy kid like you." Saying that, she casually gave Yuan Kuang a kick. It looked like a light kick. Yuan Kuang's fat body was kicked in the direction of a group of guards. The guards swarmed forward, wanting to catch Yuan Kuang. However, they were all pressed down by Yuan Kuang. There were two guards whose heads were pressed to the ground by the young prince's fat body and turned into meat patties. Yiqing Luo didn't bother about Yuan Kuang anymore, but swiftly turned around and walked over to Kitty Lee. She bent down and picked up the woman. Then he walked to the other side of the street. The group of guards wanted to give chase, but they didn't dare to. Even the young prince couldn't beat him. Even if they went up, they would just be sending themselves to death in vain. She looked at the young prince grimacing in pain and screaming in pain. The guards decisively chose. She inquired about little lord's well-being and directly ignored the three of them who were leaving. Yiqing Luo carried the woman and speedily left the street, turning into a quieter alley. Yiqing Luo placed the woman against the wall and took her pulse. The bleeding on the woman's forehead had already stopped. Her face was pale and she looked extremely weak. Yiqing Luo wasn't stingy with her pills. She fed the woman another pill and helped to bandage the wound on her forehead. "Sister, why didn't you just kill that wimpy kid? He's simply too much." Kitty Lee looked at the woman's pale face and said angrily. Chapter 2341. Moreover, this woman seems to have suffered too much shock, and her heart can't take it. If we delay any longer, her life might be in danger. After all, this woman did it for her, to remind her, and to save her, and that was why she brought death upon herself. Then he kowtowed for her, causing his wound to become inflamed. If she ignored the woman, she would be too cold and heartless. After treating the woman's wound, Yiqing Luo kept the things properly. Kitty Lee was still angry about what happened to Yuan Kuang. Seeing Yiqing Luo stop what she was doing, Kitty Lee placed her head on Yiqing Luo's shoulder, pouted and said unhappily, "Sister, Yuan Kuang actually dared to tease you. How could you let him off so easily? Why don't I go to his place tonight and give him a paw?" Yiqing Luo rubbed Kitty Lee's little head. "Do you think I'm that kind of kind-hearted person?" "No," Kitty Lee answered decisively. Yiqing Luo patted her head. "That's it. But, sister has let Yuan Kuang off just like that, he will definitely come looking for trouble with us." Kitty Lee raised her pretty face as she blinked her big bright eyes, looking at Yiqing Luo in puzzlement. Yiqing Luo smiled mysteriously as a crafty glint flashed past her eyes. Didn't he keep saying that he wanted pain? I'll let him suffer as much as he wants. Yuan Kuang was directly carried back by a group of guards. Steward Fan, who had been completely crippled, was also carried back. When the two of them were carried back to the Battle King's mansion in a sorry state, the servant who was guarding the door was dumbfounded. Usually the young prince and Steward Fan would come back from outside. When was he not in high spirits? When had he not returned with his spoils of war, and a full load of them? This was the first time the young prince was carried back by someone. Furthermore, there was not a single part of Steward Fan's body that was unscathed. His body was drenched in blood and riddled with scars. He was a complete cripple. The entire Battle Emperor's mansion was shocked by the sight. For a moment, everyone in the War King's mansion was in a state of panic. They hurriedly took care of the young duke. The young duke was the lifeblood of the War King's mansion. Now he was being carried home with injuries. If General Battle King knew, the entire War King's mansion would suffer. However, how could the War King General not know that Yuan Kuang was being carried back? After receiving the news, the Warlord General and his wife hurried back to the Warlord residence. Then she saw that he was lying on the bed with his eyes closed and there were obvious scratches on his face. The general's wife rushed to the bedside, her heart aching. She grabbed Yuan Kuang's hand and softly asked about his well-being. Yuan Kuang was unconscious and could not answer the general's wife. The Warlord General's eyes were as big as copper bells, and his eyes were filled with rage. Who is it? Who dared to hurt this prince's son? This prince wants that person to pay with his life. The guards who followed Yuan Kuang out to commit crimes were all forced to kneel in front of Yuan Kuang's door. Hearing the War King General's furious roar, they all trembled and knelt on the ground. My son. Wake up. Mother is here, wake up, open your eyes and look at mother. The general's wife grabbed Yuan Kuang's hand and cried desperately. The crying Battle King General felt a throbbing pain on his forehead. He was annoyed and berated. Shut up. Your son is not dead yet, why are you crying? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.